Top G Andrew
Tate.
Now we're gonna check out Top G Andrew.
What the fuck was that?
We're gonna check out Top G's interview with Patrick Bet-David. Let's go.
If this guy is so innocent, how can they get you to go to the dungeon for 92 days? How can they put you on house arrest? How can they do all this stuff?
They could do this to you. They could do this to anyone. They could do to you or me or any man watching this. Any man watching this. I wake up instinctually at 5 a.m. because that's when they raid your house. I wake up at like 4:59. I just fucking shoot up.
Empires have fallen so many times because they thought they could get away with murder, and then eventually people said, "Listen, stop. You're not gonna do this to me anymore. We're not gonna take a cent."
When I destroyed the BBC, my brother was celebrating. I knew. It's interesting enough. You don't beat the British Broadcasting Corporation and make fools of them like this without some new bullshit.
This is where their argument has leaks in it.
I'm genuinely looking for guidance here. Am I supposed to roll over and fucking lose?
You sincerely don't know what the right thing is.
I sincerely have decided that the best thing I can do is stay true to my faith and stay true to God and tell the truth and fight.
So a lot has changed since the last time we sat down with Andrew Tate. Last time we sat down with him, you were the most Googled man on earth. Today, effective last 2 days, you are now the most Googled woman on earth.
Correct.
According to your Twitter profile.
Correct.
Love it.
And we wanted to make sure after the BBC interview, you made certain requests.
Yeah.
You said you want, moving forward, there to be a $50,000
He's
fee
the most feminine woman I've ever seen. Don't you agree?
when people sit down to do an interview. So we wanted to make sure the ESG score for this interview would be very high. We got you a $50,000 Target gift card.
I appreciate it very
What
much.
people in America will appreciate that. And then you also said cookies. So Adam got you some
Box of
Tate
chocolate.
cookies
Amazing.
to make sure we match that. And then we
One
did,
for your brother as well, I
We did
believe.
bring a Bud Light,
Yes.
but unfortunately, Vinny finished it on the way here. Vinny, you know, we
I'm already a girl. I don't need Bud Light.
yeah, so we respect that. So, but anyways, look, a lot's obviously changed from last time to this time. Last time we sat down was around 9 months ago.
Yeah.
You had, at the time, been deplatformed from every social media platform. We came out here, we sat down, we spoke. The Matrix was attacking you. You were saying, Matrix attacking me, Matrix attacking me.
Yep.
From then on, Musk buys Twitter in October.
Yep.
He then reinstates you.
Correct.
In one day, I believe you get 1 million followers on Twitter. You're upwards of 7 million today.
Yep.
Every other account's taken down. I think even Tristan was taken down off of Instagram.
Yep.
And then, you know, the arrest comes, the lover boy, all these articles,
Yep.
and Vice releases the hit piece on you guys. You know, they're saying what they're saying, and I'm sure we're going to get some comments on that.
Yep.
The initial 30-day lockup was extended twice, 92 days in the dungeon.
Yep.
We had a chance to speak with one of your lawyers, Tina Glandian, on February 24th. It was a great conversation we had with her. Then eventually you're released. You and your brother come out, and you specifically make it clear that you did 7,417 push-ups.
Correct.
Very impressive. You received letters from thousands of fans. You read the Quran on a daily basis.
Yep.
At no point was any charges, anything official charge. It was all allegedly.
Yep.
And while you were away, a new star was born, Dylan Mulvaney, which I'm sure you're familiar with. From there on, a lot of comments were made. Comments of people that supported you, comments of people that didn't support you.
Not case.
Logan Paul said by 2023, he will not have a sliver of relevance, is what he said. KSI said Andrew Tate snitched on himself after getting racial by Greta Thunberg.
Yeah.
Destiny said Andrew Tate has been arrested for rape charges in a country he specifically lives in to avoid rape charges because he was beefing with a autistic child on the internet. I think he's referencing the great Greta.
Yeah.
Matt Bernstein advocated to get you kicked off of Instagram.
Sure.
And he's part of the Blue Pill community, a big famous makeup artist.
Yeah.
Ethan Klein said, and that's why I call him Andrew, the human trafficker. He sent me a cease and desist threatening to sue me for defamation for saying he's a human trafficker.
Yeah.
What else am I supposed to call someone that buys and sells human beings after their will? Tate, the human trafficker. NBC
Stop,
in
we're
January
not
2023
Stop.
said Andrew Tate said he broke a woman's jaw and that his business was a scam ahead of Romanian charges.
Yeah.
Rolling Stone said, meet Andrew Tate, ex-kickboxer, red-pilling the angry young men of America. These are people that didn't support you. Now, these are the people that supported you. Tucker Carlson, he comes out and he says, on Full Send podcast, first of all, he's really smart.
Did you see that? The angry young men. I would say that would be the men on the left because they're, you know, reversed, like inverted.
I wouldn't say angry about them. I would say hysteric.
Yeah, but what I mean is
I know.
bitter and, you know, miserable.
Yeah, it's not anger.
The spirit that animates Andrew Tate is very clear and very obvious, and it's not a malicious spirit at all. Andrew Tate's core message is respect for yourself, act like you're worth something, achieve something, do something, get the fuck off the couch, put down the porn, go do something with your life. That's the greatest message that anyone could give. It tells you everything about the people in charge who say that's threatening. What is that threatening? The same people who live on the pedo island with Epstein and the same people that were friends with Harvey Weinstein were claiming to protect women by rebuking Tate. That's Tucker Carlson. Piers Morgan, who originally originally when he went on, it was very combative.
Correct.
It was a very good interview, entertaining, but it was also interesting to see him trying to push you. And then he flips and he says, this is getting ridiculous. Romanian authorities must either charge him and his brother if they have actual evidence of crimes or release them. Musk obviously supported by restoring your account like this. Jake Shields said people are freaking out about young boys looking up to Andrew Tate, but totally fine with young girls looking up to Cardi B and the Kardashians. And obviously, Aiden
Exactly.
Wet ass pussy.
Eh.
That bitch is talking about wet ass pussy and also trying to show it to you in your face through the video on YouTube.
And she's supposed to be a role model for young girls.
Yeah, she is liberated.
She's liberated, a
Yeah, she's
brave young woman.
She is liberated, you know. She's taking off her clothes,
Yeah.
liberating herself
But should
from
young girls
clothes.
be liberated?
Red Bull community, Joe Rogan. I can go on and on and on about a lot of things that's being said. We watched the BBC interview, and we'll talk about BBC here in a minute because I have some questions on that as well. But the first thing I want to ask you is, 9 months, where we were at then, September, to where we are today, a lot's changed. How do you feel with everything that's going on? And tell us a little bit about your current state today.
Yeah, there's a very strange sense of terror that comes from knowing exactly what's going to happen to you. There's a strange sense of calm that comes from it also, but in the middle of the night, when you can't sleep, sometimes you feel happy knowing what they're trying to do to you, and sometimes you feel terrified knowing what they're trying to do to you. I think I'm very happy. Every single podcast I did previous to this, I hammered the point home, and I made it very clear that they had the intention of trying to put me in jail. I said, there's 3 lives. They try and cancel you and slander you and destroy your name. They don't just want you to disappear from the internet. They want you to disappear from the internet in a cloud of shame. They have to shame you, which is why they chose the crimes they did for me, and it's why they usually choose the crimes they choose, because it's heinous. They want to shame you. And
You know what's funny? He's saying they want to shame you, and that's true. But at the same time, though, that side has no shame.
Right?
what I mean?
Right?
They literally they have no shame, disgusting, degenerate, and all that shit. But at the same time, they're trying to say, hey, you're into sick stuff or whatever.
You disappear with your head facing the ground and never pop up again. Obviously, they attempted to cancel me. I became more famous than ever before. I even said to you on your podcast, and I said on other podcasts, I said, I think they made a mistake. I think when you have power and you overuse it, what happens is a rebellion. That's how a revolution starts. When you have power, you have to be very, very careful with how you use that power. The second you overuse it, there's a revolution, and we're in Romania, so they know all about that. That's exactly what happens. And I said at the time, I think I was a mistake. I think they made a big mistake canceling me the way they did. And then the second time, the second life, which I described as they try and put you in jail for no reason. Here we are in the current scenario. I knew it was going to happen. And the third one is they put a bullet in your head. So we're going to have to see how the second life plays out. And yeah, I mean, when this is all over and I win the court case and I get the not guilty, I won't be smiling. I'll be walking out the courtroom with my head on a swivel. That's the kind of life I'm living now. I'm going to be thinking, oh, okay, so their second attempt failed. Now what? Like, do I want to fly private anymore? Do I want to go that place anymore? You start to think about these things. Like, do I want to do these things? A lot of billionaires dying in plane crashes. It's strange.
Yeah, that's the perfect way to get rid of somebody. A plane crash, you know. But they're gonna do an even higher level than that. That's why they want electric cars, because that can be hacked,
Right?
remotely controlled, and then you drive it and
you
you
think
die.
that you are the one driving it. Like, okay, at least I'm the one driving my car. Nothing can happen.
Yeah. So
I'm careful.
and then you drive into a cliff and you die, and then
Or off a cliff.
and then they will say, oh, it was just a malfunction, and then they move on to the next thing. You know what I mean? That's even better than the plane crash. Yeah.
It's scary, regardless of how it plays out. And I guess you just have to go with the punches and see where it lands. And God has a plan for me and for all of us, and we're just going to see how it ends up.
Full disclosure, you don't have any suicidal thoughts.
I want to make it very clear, and I make it clear on absolutely every single podcast, I would never kill myself. I don't care what they say. I don't care what video they show you. Never under any circumstance would I kill myself. It's haram. Never. I don't care if they put me back in the dungeon, solitary confinement by myself for the rest of my human years. I would never kill myself. Ever. Ever. So if that ever happens, God forbid, do not believe whatever garbage they tell you. The chance of me killing myself is precisely 0.
And you had this complete level of certainty that this is exactly how it would play out. You've said this on umpteen podcasts that this is their agenda.
They have to damage my influence. They have to damage my influence. They can't sit there and let me be influential because I'm saying things that they don't like me saying.
It's
and
so
there are
obvious.
people sitting around going, he's saying things counter to our message and counter to our narrative. Get rid of it. And they have a pretty standardized playbook. And this is probably one of the first times in history where their playbook just isn't working. Cancel him. He's still around. Oh, well, lie about him in the news. Just say he touches chicks. Well, no one believes it. Oh, all the comments are on his side. Everyone's calling us liars. Okay, then do it again. Then do it again. Make up a new girl. Then do it again. Find someone else.
Yeah.
And they keep attacking me with the same weapons, but the bullets are bouncing off. And that doesn't give me a sense of calm. That doesn't make me think, ha ha ha, I'm invincible. It makes me think, uh-oh. It makes me think, uh-oh, because human life is cheap at the top. It's very cheap.
Does it make you want to sit on the sidelines and be quiet and just kind of live a life with your family, your kids? Does it make you want to do that? Maybe all these attention is actually not a good thing.
It's interesting because sometimes I analyze myself and think, why don't I just do that? Why don't I just disappear? You know, I don't need money. I don't need fame. Why don't I just disappear? And then you have to, I was saying this to my brother, and he was like, well, Genghis Khan didn't need Vienna. Some people are just wired that way. Like, Vienna's a long way from Kathmandu. Sometimes that's just the way it is. Or Ulaanbaatar, I apologize, the capital of Mongolia. That's just the way some people are. If I see injustice, and if I see things which I believe to be false, I feel like I am obligated to say the truth. I can't explain why, even if at my own detriment. What am I doing this for? Like, it's to the detriment of my life. And I've had these conversations at length with the people close to me, and we're all saying the same thing. It's always been the same way. Humanity's always been the same way. There's been a select, small, few good men up against evil, and evil...
Hold up. I had schoolgirls scream at me the other day. Funny enough, they were screaming, I love you, Andrew Tate, because I actually look like him. Really? That's
Nice.
cool.
Cool.
You were in Australia, right? I remember.
Evil always outnumbers you. Evil always has more money than you. They always have more power and more influence than you. If you play any video game, when you get to the end boss, he always has more life than you. He always has more hit points.
true.
But you're the good guy. And it's kind of like, it's never been any different. At any point in human history, there's been the good guys up against the forces of evil, whatever they were at the time. And you've always been outnumbered, and you've always been supposed to lose.
So you consider yourself the good guy. in
You
this
know why
situation.
I think that is? The evil ones need that upper hand. Because I believe there are more good people than evil people.
Yeah. Although you can feel, doubtful of it these days.
I know it can look like it's not
Yeah.
that way, but
Feel like it.
I think there are way less evil than there is good. But so that they will have a chance in this video game called Life, they have to have some upper hand. You know what I mean? Like, otherwise evil will not ever.
But in
be
a weird
able to
way,
win.
I think that evil actually does more good in a way. Because without evil, you wouldn't know who is good.
Yeah.
Without evil, you wouldn't have brave people.
Yeah. The consequence of evil
Yeah.
is good.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds so bad.
Yeah, but it's like that.
You know what I mean?
I think that truth is instilled by God in all of us, and I think if you tell the truth, you're a good person.
So who do you think is the bad guy? You know, everyone uses they, them, they're after me. Who's they? Who's the bad guy?
Well, instead of saying who, I will start by saying is what they do. And what they do is they control information. And we now live in an information society, and by controlling information, they control how people think and act and react to things. That's all they have to do. They have to control information, and they have to be very selective with what they allow you to talk about and what they allow you to discuss and what they don't. And once they can do that, they can keep you bickering about garbage, and they can control the sensitive information, and then they run the world. So having all the information controlled and having this hard barrier on what can be discussed, that's how they can purport absolute fallacies.
In a
I
way,
think
they have
now it's been a
always
couple-
controlled information. Like before, you couldn't read the Bible in the 1300s or so. A normal person couldn't own a Bible. You were not allowed to read it. They burned books. Of course, the media from the start, the newspapers were controlled. They controlled who could bring the news to the village. There were the musicians usually that brought the news to the village, who could and who could not. So in a way, they always knew that the one who controls the information controls everything from the get-go, I think.
Yeah, but they fooled us to think that the internet was free, so that they could lure us into it and get us hooked to it, because that's the vehicle that they're gonna do their ultimate one world government under.
Couple years, we can probably talk about it. They psyoped the world into believing they should be afraid of the common cold. They psyoped the world into this. And if you
By
think
the
about-
way, I heard from an insider, Illuminati insider. I saw a video on it. He said that the C-19, you know what I mean, was supposed to happen in 2016 under Hillary. And he confirmed that Trump was, it was not planned by them. So Trump was a surprise. So you got to thank God for Trump, because he at least postponed it, because he said they tried to do the C-19 in 2016, and that food and water shortages would have happened in 2020. Instead now, though, it's going to happen in 2025. Food and water shortages is going to happen in 1.5 years. We'll see.
About how difficult that would be to do. How difficult would it be to psyop the entire population of Earth? Well, what you do is you just lie on repeat, and you don't allow anyone to say anything counter to it without hurting them the same way I've been hurt. And you just psyop them.
Good people are growing every day. And we're stepping out from the shadows to say enough is enough. Exactly, Arizona. Fuck it, man. We're on the brink of the end of humanity. If you do not speak out now, what the fuck are you doing with your life? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is like the end. We're on the brink of the end of humanity.
It's actually amazing because now I use that exact same psyop on people. I love it. I love it. So when I sit with someone who's not matrix-minded, when I sit with someone who is matrix-minded, like when the BBC walked in here, I'm like, do you all have your vaccinations? Social distancing.
Did you actually?
100%. Social distancing, please. And they look at me like I'm crazy. Well, how?
So what? Are you nuts? Why you want jabs and mouth diapers and distancing? What the fuck's wrong with you?
100%. Social distancing, please. And they look at me like I'm crazy. Well, how am I crazy? 2 years ago, you were telling me to do this. Now when I repeat your own worldview to you, I'm crazy. Well, if I'm crazy, guess what? You're a fucking liar. Because you lied the whole time.
Exactly.
So either you're a liar or I'm not. You know, how can I be nuts?
This was one of the things when I first saw Andrew, when he spoke about this thing. I was like, yeah, I love that. You know what I mean? Somebody that has influence actually speaks out about it. And they spoke out about it during it.
Yeah, not after.
Yeah, it's very easy to say after. You know what I mean? During it. That's when it really counts. And I think that's when God sees it. You know what I mean? Like, that's when God takes a note. Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. All right.
Mask on. If I ever talk to any of these clowns again, they're going to be fully masked up. And I refuse. I don't care if you have 2 booster jabs. No, I want all 6. All 6 injections. I want paperwork. Or get fucked.
You're not coming in the house.
Good luck. I'm scared of
I hope he does. Huh? I hope he does that. For real. Like, listen, I'm really worried about C19. You should mask up. I have an exception.
COVID. It's dangerous. I believe the mainstream media. I'm scared.
This word you keep using, PSYOP, I've never heard this. What it's short for psychological operations?
Correct.
Break that down. What exactly is a PSYOP?
Right.
Yeah, a PSYOP is the matrix as a whole. It's like psychological operations are constant. They constantly decide how they want you to think and what they can do to make you believe that, right? There's a whole bunch of them they do. But it starts with tolerance. That's what I don't like about this whole guise of tolerance. It's not that I'm an intolerant person. It's not that I'm a bad person. It's not that I want to hurt other people. But when they keep pushing tolerance, what they're trying to say is have no standards or barriers or parameters.
Exactly.
That's what they want. You have to be tolerant. Tolerant of what? Tolerant of having your shop set on fire, tolerant of your kids being taught things you don't want, tolerant of crime, tolerant of your house being broken into. Like, tolerant of what? You're not allowed any hard barrier or any hard parameters as a man anymore. That's why they push tolerance. That's the beginning.
Or a
That's
woman.
the first stage. Once you accept absolute tolerance, well, then it's the end, isn't it? I'm tolerant of everything. I'll eat the bugs.
You'll
Sure.
tolerate everything.
I'll tolerate everything.
And this is the thing. We talked about this before. Freedom. Even freedom has its limits. You have to cross the line. Because you can't have full freedom, whatever the fuck
And
that
with
means.
freedom also comes a lot of responsibilities.
Yeah. But I know it doesn't make sense. Like, freedom has to have a line. Then it's not free. No, it's not free. You know, I mean, not your sick, twisted type of freedom. You know, it has to have limits.
Everything. I'm tolerant, sure. So when I say things like I'm intolerant to certain things and people think that's bad, no, you need to have standards and parameters. And that's one of the reasons they also attack me. I say that men should be allowed to have standards and parameters in a relationship and in their lives. We should be allowed to decide who we want to marry, and we should have standards for her. They have standards for us. We should allow ourselves to have standards for
Now
her.
we
should
are
have standards
demanding the freedom to have standards and boundaries. Like,
What do
you
you
know, you and I
Yeah.
and sane people are demanding our freedom to have boundaries, you know, to be able to draw the line. Because we are not free to do that. We have to accept everything.
You mean we're not free to have boundaries?
Yeah, exactly. And they are pushing a freedom without boundaries, but the boundary to have boundaries.
what we'll accept from a government and standards and what we'll accept from a police force. We should have standards as men. But they're trying to erode all of that, because once that's gone, then your brain is completely empty. And then once your brain's empty, they can just plug in the slave program, and then it's over, right? You're a tolerant person. You're a tolerant person. Good. You're a good slave. Slaves are exceptionally tolerant.
So the shirt you wear is what? Escape the slave
true.
mind?
Resist the slave.
Resist the slave mind. What's that mean exactly?
It's a better word, resist.
Resist.
But I want to do this before we get into, because we got 5 hours. We got plenty of time to get into a lot of different topics. So one, I do want to talk about BBC. The handling of the interview, I want to get your thoughts on it. I know there's been reactions, but I want to go a little bit deeper into it because I want to compare how your start with the interview with BBC started versus Philip Schofield versus Musk. I got all the first questions. We'll cover that. I want to talk about media. I want to talk about your evolution of your faith, atheist, Christian, Muslim, and then some of the
Philip Schofield or whatever the fuck his name is that British, I don't know, news anchor, not news anchor, morning show,
Yeah,
Good
it was in the
Morning.
morning show.
I hate that guy and that blonde woman that is his co-worker because during the C19,
They were.
they were disgusting with what they were pushing. They were actually pushing people coming in and hugging through this ridiculous plastic.
Right, I remember.
Yeah, the plastic thing, divider.
Oh, man.
And I was like, get the I remember during the C19, I was like, get the fuck out of here with this absolute bullshit.
things that's
And
going
now he is accused for grooming, you know what.
on with politics right now, maybe a little bit of Romania, Trump. We'll cover what you're talking about with different things. It's funny you're saying monopoly on
So
power.
Spalbo.
Monopoly on power. If you use it,
Emergency
now
meeting
YouTube's turning
tonight.
around and saying, hey,
I
you can
think
talk
so.
about the
I
election.
think I saw
We're no
something.
Damn.
longer going to give this strike. So that doesn't work forever. First thing I want to talk about, I think the audience would like to know, for you and Tristan, 92 days in the dungeon, you're in jail, your experience in there, we keep hearing about it, we read about it, but what was it like for you guys being in there?
So I'll start by saying, and I have to make this clear, that the staff in the jail were exceptionally nice to me. They were very apologetic. The vibe was apologetic. Nobody was really treating me like a criminal. There were a few guys who were icy cold, I guess you could call them. They like to think of themselves as professional, but they were just inhuman. But over time, they warmed up, and I was exceptionally nice also to all the staff. Jail was terrible. I'm going to start by saying jail was terrible, and I was miserable inside of the jail cell. It's a good thing depression isn't real, because I would have been depressed. But I think in life that you get what you give, and I wanted to feel happier, so I tried my very best to make people happy. So when the old lady would bring me my food, I would sit and say, oh, this is the best food I've ever had. I've never had food this good. Did you cook this? I thought yesterday was the best, but you managed to surpass it again. How'd you do it? What's the magic?
This is his brilliant mind when he always talks about how he sees everything as a chess move, and this is a great example. Like he's in that dungeon, and he just thinks what's the best chess move to make instead of being like grumpy.
Yeah, just going on his feelings.
Yeah, he's like, what is the
Instead,
best? Like, is the best move to just be like that, or just make her happy and create a positive vibe.
Yeah.
Despite being in hell.
Yeah, because he could just sit there, cry, and be miserable.
Yeah.
If he wanted to.
Yeah,
instead
and then
he turns it.
that will just bring his energy and vibe down if he did that. Instead, he chose the best move. That's a thing that everybody should take after, to learn from that.
I ended up making friends with them. Like I had grandmas in there, the old ladies cooking the food. And by trying to make people happy and smile all the time, I started to feel a lot happier. But it's kind of scary, and I think the scariest thing about jail was the uncertainty of it all. If they would have said to me, you're in jail for 92 days, or even 5 years, you got 5 years, cool, I do my time. But when you're nabbed and thrown in a cell without charge, you're like, well, how long, is this my life? Is this it now? Is this the end of the story? I'm just in this cell. And I was picked up on the 29th of December. I went through this quick court case. Like I said, I'm inside of the jurisdiction of Romania, so I have to be very careful with what I say because the case is ongoing and we're in Romania and I can't leave Romania. But obviously Romanian court is in Romanian by law. So you're marched into this room, everyone speaks a language you don't understand for 15 minutes, and then you're marched off to jail. You're like, what even happened? What even happened to me? And they said, oh, here's the paper that explains it. I was like, that's in Romanian. And they said, oh, don't worry, you'll get a translation to English by law. I was like, okay, that's fine. But because I was picked up on the 29th of December and there was New Year's Eve and holidays, it was 2 weeks before I even knew why I was in jail. 2 solid weeks I'm in jail. No one told me in English why I'm in jail. I had no idea what the
Can they do that?
By law, you get it on the piece of paper in English, but it's translation, it's holiday, we need to find a translator, there's a delay.
And you speak zero Romanian?
Zero. So they said, oh yeah, human trafficking. I'm like, what do you mean human trafficking? Who? When? What is this? Took 2 weeks before I finally got a piece of paper, and then I realized what garbage it truly was. I mean, I knew it was garbage, but I was like, this is complete garbage.
Yeah.
So, I have endless stories from jail. It was certainly, I don't think jail teaches you much new. What it does is confirm everything you already know. It confirms everything you know about the reality of the outside world, that you need to be physically strong so that you're not attacked by others, and mentally strong so you're not attacked by yourself. You learn who's on your side and who isn't. You learn who's a coward and who's not. You learn who's an opportunist and who isn't. Your circle, you certainly learn a lot about the people around you when you go to a jail cell, that's for sure. But I remember it was New Year's Eve. When I was first picked up on the 29th of December, I was very sure I'd be out in 24 hours. I said, there's no way they're gonna keep me. For what? Like, this doesn't make sense. So finally New Year's Eve rolls around, and I'm sitting in the jail cell by myself. And in Romanian jail, you don't leave the room. It's not like an American jail where there's a yard or anything. You're stuck in the room. It's 3x4, and that's your existence. You just stay in the room.
Are you by yourself?
24 hours a day. At the beginning, I was by myself. And you're stuck in this room, and I'm sitting there. It's New Year's Eve, and there's a very faint speaker, maybe way down the hallway. The guards must have been having a little party for New Year's Eve. And there's this awful song. It's called the Ketchup Song. I don't know if you know what it is. I don't want to sing it, but it goes, hey, aha, hey, that super annoying song.
Which one is that? Is that the?
Yeah.
Is that? Oh man.
And I'm sitting there, and I know it's New Year's Eve because the fireworks start going off. And I'm looking out my tiny window, and I can just hear in the very long distance from the end of the hallway, hey, aha, hey. And I'm sitting there looking out the window.
It's like a movie.
It's like me being in that dungeon hearing Cardi B and shit. Oh fuck.
This can't be it. This can't be the end of my life. Even the cockroaches all over the walls didn't celebrate. There was maybe 15 cockroaches on the walls, right? And when it struck 12 and the fireworks went off, I kind of like, well, who's my friends in here? The cockroaches. I looked at them, even they didn't move. I was like, well, that's news. It's funny because before that, a couple days before that, me and Tristan were discussing, do we want to do New Year's in Dubai? Do we want to go Courchevel? Shall we go Miami? We're all arguing, oh, that will be boring. That's too far. We had all these grandeur plans. Oh, finally we decided to go to Dubai. We were in Czech Republic at the time, and we decided to go to Dubai, and I said, let's stop in Romania so I can repack a suitcase. So
That's it. That's the only reason.
That's the only reason. So jet left Prague, landed in Romania. My jet was still on the runway. Came here overnight to pack a suitcase, spent the night, spoke to Greta with a pizza box, and it's 5 a.m. they got me before I flew back to Dubai. So that was my
The infamous Greta pizza box situation.
Greta pizza box.
How much you think there's anything linked to Greta? Is there anything, because the timing of it?
Yeah, I don't think
This is weird because you know the Vice guy,
Yep.
the little wimp from Vice. They were waiting with their documentary until
right.
a couple of days after Andrew got in jail or something. So I don't know what was going on there because
It's like
it felt
they knew.
coordinated. I don't know what that was.
she specifically said
Of
from the beginning.
course.
But there are certainly people within the Matrix machine that you can't attack without catching flack for. There's certainly protected people. It's absolutely and utterly a club, and you're either in the club or you're outside the club. She's certainly in the club, right? So if you say certain things about certain people, or you get a beef with X amount of people, or you discredit a certain person, they're going to try very hard to teach you a lesson for doing that. And you can see very clearly who's in the club and who isn't by the Philip Schofield situation. This is a man who has groomed boys and had sex with them, but he's in the club. All of the media headlines after 2 days are, let's have compassion, feel sorry for him, his mother's upset. They've attacked me for 14 months, day after day after day, and they relentlessly attack me. Nobody talks about my mental health. Nobody gives a shit how I feel. I didn't do any of the things he did. He's actually done things. I haven't done anything. But when you're in the club, you're protected by the media. When you're not in the club, you're attacked by the media. And that's how it simply works. You're either on our side or you're not. But to join their side, you have to sell your soul. Your sanity has a price. Your sanity is for sale. You have to sell it. You have to come along your sanity, take out your mind and say, here you go, take my sanity. I'll take 35 million. Yes, that is a woman. Yes, protect me. It's insane. And the reason these people join these clubs is because they know they're doing bad things and they feel they need protection. The reason I stand up and argue against all this shit is because I know I don't have skeletons in my closet. You think I'd be on the internet talking like I talk and fighting the Matrix if I had skeletons in my closet if I was actually a bad person? I've been investigated as deeply as a person can be investigated by multiple federal agencies for 14 months. I was locked in a jail cell and 2,000 people I know was called. My barber, my old housekeeper from when I lived in England 9 years ago, my gardener I used to have in another country I lived in. Everybody was called. And people were offered bribes effectively. The media are calling girls saying, if you have a bad story to tell about Andrew, we can pay you $30,000 if you have a bad story. That's a bribe. That's a bribe. And they still couldn't find anyone. Still. I've been investigated to a deeper level than 99.9% of people you'll cross on the street. And they're saying I'm guilty and I'm a bad person? You go get 20 men off the street and put them through what I've been through. You'll find more crimes than you've ever found with me.
Definitely.
Absolute clown world. It's insane. And if I was part of the club, none of this would be happening. The media would be on my side. They wouldn't be hitting me this
And
hard.
it's like with Trump, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
7 years. Nothing. Now they got him on some documents that you're allowed as a president to take, you know?
They wouldn't be lying about me. All I had to do was sell my soul and sell my sanity, and I refused. And they're trying to punish me for it. That's what's happening.
It's funny you say this. When we watched the BBC interview with Musk, right? And he goes up and the guy opens up the question with, why'd you agree to do this interview? He says, well, I don't know, what's the name of the BBC? And he's trying to mock them and all this stuff. And there's a part of it where, he calls them out for the mistakes they made. Yeah. And if you go to the bottom of the interview on BBC, you'll see comment section saying, why'd you cut that out? Because Musk puts it on Twitter, but they didn't put it in the interview. Then you watch the interview with you. The first question they ask you was, what's the first question? Hey, you've been accused of
serious crimes,
rape or something like that. Right off the bat, they ask that question of you. And then you see the interview, Lucy Williamson, I believe, her first question was, you're facing some very serious allegations. Have you raped anybody? That's the open question that they ask you. And the video they put up, the first one, they take it down. The second video they put up, that's 12 minutes, like the highlight one, they turn, the comment section is open. There's 80,000 plus comments there. Then you look at Philip Schofield. Yeah. You just brought up Philip Schofield. For people that don't know who Philip Schofield, do you mind explaining to people who he is?
Yeah, he was a TV presenter in England. He was very famous. He ran the morning show. And he was grooming children for a very long time. And all the staff knew about it. And the people who worked on the show with him were being groomed by him. And everybody knew. And it was all a big ha-ha joke. And now he's come out saying, oh, please don't pick on me. I feel sad. And the media's saying, I'll leave the guy alone.
Dude, wasn't that guy Jimmy Savile also on the BBC or some shit like that?
I think he was. And he had children's shows and everything.
Yeah. What the fuck?
When you go look up his Wikipedia, it says he rose to prominence as children's BBC continuity presenter from 85 to 87. Yep. Then went on to do programs on BBC and ITV for Going Live, This Morning, Dancing on Ice, All-Star Mr. and Mrs., The Cube, and a bunch of other things. And they interview him, okay? While he's going through the mess, after 27 years of being married, this one guy that he groomed since 10 years old, his name is McGreevy, I want to say something McGreevy, that he's going through the process. Matthew McGreevy, they met at 10 years old at a theater group. At 15 years old, Philip follows him on Twitter. While the kid is 15, he follows him on Twitter. The guy celebrates it. Long story short, Ruth Langsford, they work together with. She files a complaint. Then right after filing the complaint, McGreevy gets fired. Then he has to take a break. Then he comes out after 27 years telling his wife, and hey, I'm gay, I'm coming out of the closet. He's got 2 daughters. But there's a part of it where Matthew calls his wife and says, hey, your husband and I had an affair together when I was 19 the first time and 20 and all. Nobody knows if it was before or not. The interesting thing about him is his brother, Timothy Schofield, I don't know if you know about his brother.
Oh, what, the one who's in jail for being a pedophile?
Was convicted of 11 sexual offenses involving a child between October 2016 and 2019, including 2 sexual activity with a child. Here's how the interview started. First question, the guy asked him. He says, you've had quite a week. How are you? Open question. Versus the question they ask you on the opening, right?
That's funny. I have to take that back. Right? You had quite a week. Is that how you treat someone that is guilty and convicted? But then that Lucy,
and probably guilty of so much more. Than
that's just nothing, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
they know it, of course.
Compared to probably what else he has done.
Here's how the interview started. First question, the guy asked him. He says, you've had quite a week. How are you? Open question. Versus the question they ask you on the opening, right? And then he turns around and says, the media's interest in the affair was motivated partly because of homophobia, alleging that an affair with a much younger woman would have not generated such a scandal. So he gets protected. And he says, all those people who write those stuff, do they ever think that there's actually a person on the other end, right? This is
again this word, homophobia or phobia, whatever. Even if somebody has that, is that a crime?
Yeah.
Phobia is used for,
extreme fears.
Yeah, fear of spiders. Is that a crime to have fear of something? It's ridiculous.
It's this, making up of words. If I don't like gays, I'm not phobic of them,
Yeah, why not say gay hater?
Yeah, or gay don't like her or whatever.
Phobia?
Yeah, because phobia makes it sound so big. If I don't like gay people, I'm not scared of them. I'm not afraid. I don't get panic attacks when I see them. Yes. Like someone that actually has a phobia for spiders or for small spaces, they freak out. They panic. They faint. Nothing of that happens for someone that don't like gay people.
They're kind of bullying you for having a phobia.
It's
in that
a made-up
case.
word. It has
I know,
but I mean it's dangerous also because it makes it sound so much worse than it is.
But it's not bad to have phobia. If you're afraid of something, you're afraid.
I get what you mean.
You can't control it. You were born that way. You could maybe say, like they say,
or had
we were
a
born,
trauma.
Whatever. Don't we accept everybody? Are we against people who has fear?
This is the part where even somebody's watching you and saying, why are they taking him to court? Maybe he did something. Why did they take Trump to court? Maybe he did something. Why did they take this guy? He must have done something. There must have been something there, right? It's stuff like this BBC does. If BBC, you're watching this, right, I want to kind of remind you of your mission statement that you have on your website. We're going to put the link below to your mission statement. You can go find it. Here's what your mission statement is, BBC. This is why you've lost some credibility the last couple of years.
Some credibility.
Act in public interest, serving all audiences through the provision of impartial, keyword impartial, high quality and distinctive output and services which inform, educate, and entertain. You say you inform, educate, you entertain, yet you conceal, misinform, and your content's quite frankly boring. You're cherry picking on people that you're talking to. So a message like that gets the average person to say, everything with you is allegedly, everything he did is proven, his brother is proven, yet let's leave him alone. Poor guy, let's target him.
But you know, this is the same thing with Trump. You know, fucking Biden is guilty of everything, man. You know, pretty much everything under the sun, Biden's guilty of. They're protecting Biden, but they're going after Trump. And they're fucking supporters as well. Biden supporters or whatever, lefties, I don't know what the fuck. They're some of the worst people, you know. I just feel it in my heart, I have to say it. They're some of the worst people there is. Those people, because they cannot see when fucked up things are happening on their side. They completely ignore that, and therefore they're fucked up kind of people. But there was one thing I was going to say. Oh yeah, you know when we talked about 2016 with Hillary, that they tried to do the C-19 with Hillary, blah blah blah, and they didn't expect Trump, blah 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 blah. I want to add on that too is they did not expect Andrew.
Right?
As well.
Yeah.
When did Andrew become big? Was it 21 or 22? No, or 20 or 21?
When did we move here?
21. It was 21.
Yeah. Because I remember you were talking about him like, this guy, I saw a clip, you should watch him. And I was like, okay. And then he was talking about the C-19.
Yeah.
And he was in Stockholm, and he came here not too far from where we live. We saw when he landed in the airplane. We were like, it's right here.
Yeah. He came to our little fucking city.
But anyways, our little town. Yeah.
They did not expect Andrew.
Yeah. No.
You know what I mean? And what they've done to Andrew has been a big blow to their whole agenda.
Very short time.
Yeah. So that's fantastic.
This is where their argument has leaks in it. And somebody like you can tear it up.
Absolutely. Philip is part of the club, and I'm not. And this is the thing. I'm a mentally resilient person, right? 14 months they've attacked me. I'm not going to sit and complain about that because that's not how I operate as a man. 14 months they've complained about me. If you type Romania, human trafficking, you type in any of these things, my name comes up, my face, I'm a bad person. I've lost all my bank accounts, I've lost all my social media accounts, I've been vilified all across the matrix in every single possible way. They print my face every single day with something negative next to it daily. Nobody gives a shit about my mental health, right? Because I'm the enemy. And what's scary about this is...
You know, he's talking about closing bank accounts and shit. This shit needs to change, okay? Banks are not even needed anymore since, you know, banks used to be a place where you store your valuable stuff and they give you a paper.
Now it's just made up numbers.
Yeah, now it's just bullshit. So why the fuck should they be controlling people's lives like that? You know what I mean? We should have a complete overhaul of this whole thing, you know? Like, and it should be written like the Constitution. Like, you're not allowed to, you know, ban anybody's fucking bank account for whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The fuck?
Lucy Williamson herself, she was begging me for an interview. The BBC were begging me for an interview. I don't need any of these people. The only reason I even sat down with the BBC is because they were begging me. I can go and just say my own words and get plenty of views, right? But the whole time I was in jail, they're begging me for an interview. Can we speak to him on the phone? Maybe we can give an interview from jail. Can we have an interview? Please, 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 please. And I was saying, why do I want to talk to the BBC? And the BBC were saying, no, we don't want to do a hit piece. We want to come across, we want to be impartial.
This is what they're telling me.
We want to be impartial. We believe there's a side of the story that hasn't been told. We're really interested in some of the, let's say...
If they say that, they think they're stupid. Of course he's going to know that's not their...
agenda.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but they're snakes. You know what I mean?
No, I know.
Snakes
I know
will
they're
always
snakes.
try to.
But they're treating him as a child. No, we want to show the truth. We want to la la la.
Yeah, but you know, in the end, it works against them. So it's good that they did that.
Of course,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
And yeah, they're underestimating his intelligence. You know, and that's really
not only his intelligence, but their power.
What do you mean?
They're underestimating their power. They think that if they overestimating. They think that if they say the right things, they will get what they want, like from a child.
Yeah.
You know.
But that's this is a normal thing when it comes to less intelligent people. They think he is stupid because they think they're smarter than him or more intelligent than him. But that's because they can't see his level. They can't see that he is actually really intelligent, and therefore they made this mistake.
I don't want to get this wrong. Inconsistencies in the Romanian justice system. We're very interested in his side of the story. There's been enough hit pieces. We want to tell the other side. We want to hear Andrew Tate's story. And I said no, on repeat. Then they sent me a list of questions. I didn't even ask for a list of questions. That's not who I am. I don't have to script. I never ask for a list of questions. They sent me a list of questions. Here's what we're going to ask. It's about his mental health. It's about the Romanian justice system. It's about the fact he hasn't been charged. His liberty's been deprived. All this stuff. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. Maybe it's a bit interesting. And the Matrix is obviously printing lies about me. And these are some interesting questions from the Matrix for the first time ever. Okay. They walk in here all smiles and happy. All smiley faces trying to take me off guard. I already have my list of questions, right? It's all going to be nice and easy. I sit down, and they instantly attack me. They put the cameras on first, and they attack me, expecting me to stutter and make a fool of myself. It's kind of like they tried to sucker punch me. I'm in the club, and they're my friends shaking my hand, and they tried to hit me and knock me out. And this is the thing that's so amazing about it. Yes, I destroyed the BBC. Well, of course I did, because I'm smarter than all of them. But why should I have to rely on my wit and intellect to destroy BBC with their research team and their plan, their deliberate plan to try and annihilate not only my credibility, but my life? They are trying to put me back in jail, these people. They're not dishonest. They're genuinely evil, and they don't give a shit. And so why should I even sit there and entertain them? I believe I could slip every single sucker punch they throw at me for the rest of human time. I could sit with any of these clowns. And no matter who they sit with their research team, whatever garbage they come up with, I'll make a fool of all of them. Well, why am I even entertaining them anymore? What's the point? That was the last chance I gave mainstream media. They lied for months to get that interview with me. Completely dishonest, head to toe. And like you said, they sit with Philip. Are you okay? Are you okay? We heard your mom's upset, that poor old lady. Maybe everyone should stop talking about it because his mom's upset. Let's not talk about it anymore because his mother's old. You're either part of the club or you're not. You have to sell your sanity nowadays. If you sell your sanity, you're afforded protections. That's the reality of it, because if you're a sane thinking person, you don't buy their bullshit. And that's what upsets them. They don't want anybody who thinks for themselves. They need you to they want you to believe exactly what's on the television screen.
And I've heard something about this. I don't remember who it was that said, whenever one person wakes up, whatever, because we're all consciously connected somehow, like somehow we're connected. The more that wakes up, the more we'll wake up. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
I don't know how it works, but I kind of believe there is something to it. Or at least when you speak out about shit, that will inspire some. At least that shit works.
A small thing like wearing a t-shirt or a hat or a text will make other people see like, oh, that's another one thinking like me, or daring to show it.
Yeah, the problem is I believe there is a lot of people thinking like us, sane people, but the problem is they are thinking they are the only ones. So if everybody is going around thinking they're the only ones, then guess what? That is what it looks like. You're the only one, But you could be around 10 people outside that you don't know that thinks like you, but they think they're the only ones.
Yeah.
So you're all standing there thinking you're all different, but you're all really maybe potentially thinking the same things. But since nobody dares to take the step to show that, then it will just stay that way.
Believe in COVID. It's COVID now. Oh, Putin's invaded Ukraine. Putin's cured COVID. Now it's Ukraine. It's insane. Till the next thing comes. It's absolutely asinine.
Did any of the questions that they sent you ahead of time?
Zero.
By the way, there was no
that's not how we operate.
Asked us ahead of time whatsoever. Did they ask you any of the questions they said they were going to ask you?
Zero. They start with an attack and it became a battle instantly.
Did they ask you at any point what jail was like?
Zero.
What your mental health was like?
Zero.
You completely missed the mark when everyone wants to know what was jail like. But they don't even ask you that question.
But this is what's so interesting about it. These people are so detached.
They don't give a fuck what jail's like. They want to put you there forever. You know?
Reality, because they are genuinely detached from reality. They think that finding a video I made 8 years ago, a 4-hour speech I made 8 years ago, and finding one line of it without context that can be misconstrued, they think that sitting down with me and saying that to me is an aha moment. Nobody cares. Because you're taken out of context, one. And I said, you're taking things out of context. She goes, I'm not taking it out of context. I said, if you're presenting it without context, that's taking it out of context.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You're lying by omission. I said that to her after the camera's off, and she looked at me because she didn't understand. When you omit details, when you refuse to put in all of the details, you can lie by including one detail which may happen to be true. You can tell the truth and miss all the details around the truth, and you are lying by omission. You're lying by omission. And you're sitting here saying, oh, you said this 8 years ago. Nobody cares. Because they know me, and they know I didn't mean it in that way, and they know it's taken out of context, and they know that it's an old video on the internet, and it's not even an aha moment they think it is. But they just want to sit with you for an hour, attack you and attack you and attack you, wait for you to make one mistake. If I would have stuttered or made a single mistake, that's only 3 minutes they would have shown. That's all they want.
This is the problem with the internet. We talked about this before. Back in the days before internet, you talked and it just went out in the ether. You know what I mean? Now, most of our talking is done on video, recorded on the internet. And, sometimes you might say something you regret, whatever. Doesn't matter. If you say it, it's set in stone. And now some enemy of yours can use that and then claim you are that. You know what I mean?
Easy.
We must
also now with the technology. They don't even need you to say it.
Now they can just make an AI, a deep fake voice of you. But they're not that good, though. You know what I've noticed about the AI deep fake voices? Like, I've heard some from Andrew. Yes, it does sound like Andrew, but it lacks the spirit of Andrew. You know what I mean? It sounds very monotone. Yeah, there's something lacking in it. That's what I've noticed. Like, look for the spirit of the person they're trying to portray. You know what I mean? The attitude is not there. It sounds very dead almost. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is this whole internet thing is not a natural thing for us humans, because we humans, we get upset sometimes, we're happy sometimes, we have different moods, blah, blah, blah. Depending on when you catch that person on video, it can become very wrong. You know what I mean? It can look very wrong. Not saying that anyways.
1 hour, then they take a little bit. With me, they cut it down to 12 minutes and look terrible in all of it. But if I would have made a single mistake, it would have been the only bit they showed. That's all they care about. Fake news.
Did you say, I'm only doing this if I'm able to record as well?
I said that.
Because I know that's what happened with Trump as well a couple of years ago.
I didn't even tell them I just recorded it.
Okay, so they didn't know you were recording.
They didn't know I was recording until afterwards, and then I said, that was dishonest, I'm going to release the whole video.
You told them before you released it?
I told them.
There is no contract or agreement with BBC?
No.
Nothing was signed, it was just simply an interview. Okay, because I think that was very important when you released it, for people to see what fully was said. Versus, and by the way, the Philip Schofield interview that they put up, the 12-minute one that just came out, the comments are turned off.
Of course they are.
The comments are turned off.
Man, I want to watch that.
We
should watch that. Philip Schofield, or whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah, we should.
That interview.
Turned off. Of course. And who knows many reasons why they would do that. But going back to BBC. So, okay, they come, they want to ask the questions of you. For some of the people that maybe aren't following the story closely, but they know who you are. We're in the car, we're driving, and a lot of people are asking questions. We ask the drivers, like, hey, are you going to Tate's place? How do you know we're going to Tate's place? And he says, well, who's Tate? Oh, Andrew Tate. Oh, tell us about Andrew Tate. Well, this is okay. What kind of a guy is he? He said, I actually really like him. I said, why do you think he's going through what he's going through right now? Oh, it's always because of money. Okay, so we're at a different restaurant. So tell us, why are you going through this? Why is he going? Everybody's saying a similar thing about this, right? But for those who don't know, there's 3 different camps. Yeah. The camp that already sees you guilty, it doesn't matter what they read. So, for example, this story here, from BBC came out just last night, 10:30. Andrew Tate choked me until I passed that, UK woman claims, right? This is Alice, another anonymous name, just like Sophie, right? Yeah. But there's 3 camps. There's those that say, well, look, I'm already thinking he's guilty. I don't like him anyways. I need anything to get me to think he's guilty. Yeah. Whatever it takes. I don't have to do my own due diligence. I just have to hear anything. Then there's a camp that's a diehard fan. There's nothing you can do that they did wrong. You can, in their eyes, going to be wrong. Then you have the people in the middle that are the reasonable ones, that are saying, what, let me look at this. What about this? What about that? The people in the middle may say the following question. They may say, and I may have asked this question from you last time as well. They may say, Andrew, okay, if this guy is so innocent, how can they get you to go to the dungeon for 92 days? How can they put you on house arrest? How can they do all this stuff? Yeah. If you're
it's easy. You need to look into deep state and shit like that, the elites. That's how you can, end up in jail without charges.
That was born in U.S., you lived in UK, how come somebody else isn't coming to bail you out? You got different lawyers. How is it that they can keep doing this to you if you're not guilty? What do you say to those people?
Yeah, and once again, I have to be careful what I say because of the court case, but Romania has a law, where the law in Romania is basically, if you can prove to a judge that it might have happened, they're allowed to hold you up to 6 months during the investigation stage. If I was guilty of anything, I would have been charged long ago. And we're going to talk about charges soon because I still believe they're going to attempt to charge me. But we're now approaching the end of the 6 months they can keep me under a form of arrest for without charge. Typically in Romania, when I was first arrested, the guard said, within 2 weeks, you'll have your indictment. I was like, 2 weeks? He goes, yeah, everyone gets charged quickly. Nobody waits 6 months for a charge. If they arrest you, they charge you, like every other country, right? The fact they've waited 6 months and gone into my entire life and attempted to find something shows they don't have a case. Why I believe it happened is because they didn't have a case when they were trying to hit me with this garbage, and they thought, you know what? If we put him all over the news, if we slander his name completely, there was a hotline set up. If you're a girl who's been hurt by Andrew Tate, call this number in the UK. A hotline. So they,
hold on. If he ends up being acquitted, there should be consequences on that judge, on that process. All of these people that put him in there without, the right to do it. There should be consequences like there is consequences for everybody else. You know what I mean?
There should be.
You're not above shit. You know what I mean? This is all a game that society has agreed on with rules, and you're just playing the part of those types of characters. But if you fuck up, you're gonna get be held accountable. Same with the president and shit like that. If you lie, like I'm gonna do this, that, and then you get into office and then you do the complete opposite, you should be thrown out quicker than I don't know what. You know what I mean? These things are important. If we win this shit, these things need to be in law, like the Constitution, Like, it doesn't matter who the fuck you are, judge or not. If you fuck up and you can't prove that you tried to do the right thing, whatever, you will be thrown out or held accountable.
They were attempting to use the media to find what they wanted. Months go by, case file's empty, nothing's happening. My lawyer's saying, when are we gonna close this case file? Like, yeah, we're just waiting for some papers, we're gonna close it. Around the time I was canceled, things started appearing in the case file again. They start spying on me again. Very interesting that it happened around that time. I don't know if they understood that I wasn't protected by the political class of the USA. I don't know what happened. They started to build this case, and they spied on me for all of these months, spending
that makes
millions
sense.
of.
So the deep state canceled him, and then they just started scheming. All right, called the Romanian people. I don't know what they did, but they started to scheme.
Bureaus spying on me everywhere I went, trying to find evidence of a crime. Eventually, they get to the end of their legal limit, spy on me, and they don't have any crime. They don't have anything. So in my current court case, we have 2 Americans who lied, the ones who we have the conversations between them saying they're going to get an Oscar for lying to the police. We have the CCTV of them coming and going. We have their Uber records showing they can travel the country freely. We have their phone calls with their mother where they're saying, yeah, he didn't hurt me, and my boyfriend caught me. We have all of it. We have all the evidence. We have those 2. And then there's nobody else who could possibly even take the stand. I don't believe, as high level as this Matrix attack is, I still don't believe a Romanian judge is going to put me in jail with the dossiers. I've seen it. It's garbage. I don't think I'm going to end up in jail. But it's just taking years of my life, damaging my influence, having bad things to say about me, keeping me under control, keeping me locked in a house. That's all they want to do. They have no interest in the truth. There's no victims. There's no one to take the stand.
Do you know who Sophie is or Alice is or no?
Yeah, so the BBC,
Ali?
That's really interesting. So
Sophie,
then the BBC
the AI.
says, well, we found victims, because the BBC have done enough investigative journalism to understand that the case is garbage and there's no victims. So they said, well, we found victims. They found one called Sophie first. That was a few months ago. I think I was still in jail when Sophie appeared.
Is that her real name?
No, that's her fake name. So they have a girl with a fake name called Sophie. They don't show her face. They ask me, what do you think about Sophie?
I mean, listen, if that was true, and you were the woman that was, that had that thing happen to you, and he was such an evil man, wouldn't you want to come out and,
Of course,
nail
and-
that motherfucker?
And imagine the support I would get.
Right? You would
And the
become
love.
the woman of the century.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or whatever.
Yeah. Right
Why
after
are you
the-
hiding? It's so fucking fishy. You know what I mean? What are you hiding from? Well, her life could be in danger. Yeah, that's a good excuse.
How can I comment on Sophie when Sophie isn't real? Firstly, you've made her up. Secondly, I don't know who you're talking about. You're saying that 9 years ago, I was emotionally controlling? That is the most subjective garbage accusation. What does that mean? 9 years ago, I said you shouldn't party with those guys in the club. Is that what I said? I don't know what I said. I don't know who she is, if she exists at all. And they're saying 9 years ago you were emotionally controlling. Sophie said so. Who's Sophie? We're not telling you. What's emotionally controlling mean? We're not telling you. What comment do you want me to? If this person even exists, which they don't, then I destroy the BBC, make it very clear to them that Sophie doesn't exist, on repeat, because she doesn't. And 2 days later, Alice appears. What's interesting about this is that DCAW, the federal agency inside of Romania, along with help from international partners, have tried so hard, spending millions of euros with federal level tools to find a victim so they can put me in jail. And they can't find anyone. But the BBC just pulls them out whenever they want. The BBC does. Where do these people come from? And I say this every single time. If anybody
Right?
believes
Then the
anything
Romanian
male or
court would
female,
love to talk to these girls, right?
If they would like to talk to them.
Yeah. If now the BBC has dug up some girls that say that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So the Romanian
Sophie
court would be
and
like,
Alice.
"Oh my God!
Yeah,
thank you for the help."
why isn't
Yeah.
Sophie and Alice
Yeah.
in the Romanian court?
Exactly.
Yeah, the best way would have been to say to that BBC interviewer, Lucy, why aren't they in my court right now?
Bring them, of course.
by me, go to the police.
Good point.
Go to the police. I encourage you to go to the police. All these people say we don't want to go to the police. We just want to stay on the news. What, is that because you're not real? Is that why? That's pretty
why.
convenient. I mean, I thought it was a bad person. Why don't you go to the cops? Oh, 'cause you have no
Or
evidence.
if it's real, if Sophie exists, but she has a very, doubtful story. Like she could have made something up, but she knows that if she comes out with her face and real name, she's fucked.
Oh, yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
it's going to show that
Yeah,
she's
that could
lying.
be a possibility too.
I don't think so, but if there is a girl, then,
Yeah, remember that lady Blase Ford
Yeah,
that
exactly.
tried to
Yeah.
say that the Supreme Court
Ah,
Justice
fuck.
Kavanaugh
That was embarrassing.
in the 1981 we were in a party and we drank beer and he just jumped on me on the second floor and shit. That was ridiculous. And did you see how the left, they were just believe all
But now
women.
she's admitted that she lied, right?
Yeah, I think she
Yeah,
did.
she did.
But nobody cares.
And that, as you said before, about consequences, that she would get real consequences. She should get real consequences.
Yeah, you know what her consequence was? That she got $5 million in GoFundMe donations. That was the consequence she got. You know what I mean?
That's something for Sophie to
Are all
think
these
about.
accusers
Yeah.
in the UK, not even in Romania?
Not even
Blase
Romania. So Sophie and
Ford.
Alice are supposedly both from the UK. And Alice's story
To
is...
correct, it's not Alice. I said Alice, it's Evie or Evie or something like that. Evie.
It's all made up names.
It's all made up.
Yes,
So
we
Evie,
could call whatever name we want, but
yeah, Evie is saying 13 years ago I choked her or something.
Yeah. By the way, when is the 6-month time limit?
End of this month.
Okay. And can we reference the tweet you just posted a couple days ago?
I want to stay on the
So
commenting
what?
on Evie. You were going to say
So
something
what
about...
if he choked her a bit during sex? Which guy hasn't tried it or is it something weird? Choking?
Most women that are kind of woo
Yeah,
in the
want that.
sexual
Yeah.
field,
And then we're
they,
gonna
they
li-
are the ones
and-
saying, choke me,
Yeah.
choke me, show me how
Yeah.
hard you are.
And you're gonna watch how the people of the Pride movement,
Oh, yeah.
how they are
That's not
during
degenerate.
sex,
Yeah.
like putting leashes and fucking balls in people's mouth and spikes and everything.
Yeah.
And he choked someone.
Yeah.
So what? You know? So
We just saw a video on these Pride people at the White House. You know, showing their
Topless,
topless,
playing
fake
with her
boobs or
boobs.
whatever. But really, I mean,
or his boobs, I don't know.
it really is what the left is, you know. It represents what the left is. So it's kind of not that weird if you think about it. The left is that shit. Let's, stop beating around the bush. The left or whatever. And if you are on the left and you don't want to be associated as that, you better fucking switch the side.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. If you stay on that side, then you just have to take this, man. The left is degenerate, and therefore it's not that weird to see topless people in the White House, like yeah, and the pride flag and all that shit.
Evie, what she said, so she's claiming 10 years ago or 13 years ago, you guys had the consensual sex the first time. She comes back for the second time around. According to the story, she says she was being, your hand was on her throat, strangled me. She was
It was glued there for an hour or so.
passed out for a minute, and then she came back and
Passed out for a minute.
she said, I did not approve of the second time having sex after she was passed out. So these stories they're making,
Okay.
and then she said,
So something happened in bed that wasn't pleasant for everyone participating. So, do you think that you haven't had sex with a girl that you did something that she didn't want to?
I don't know.
Of course you have.
I mean, if you're talking about,
I
like,
know
if I'm
all-
not
I know
doing
girls. I-
good stuff,
yeah,
like I'm not fulfilling her.
it doesn't matter what you say. Every girl agrees to do things that she don't want to when she's young. Doesn't matter. Everyone does that. I have done that. Every girl does that. So if I'm gonna, start to accuse the guys I had sex with that did something that I didn't want to, you need to, I don't know.
That's woman.
It's just frustrating because it's so ridiculous.
That's a bullshit woman privilege that they've created. Like, a woman can have
13 years ago, he puts his hand on my throat and I pass out. Sorry for you, girl. Move on.
Yeah.
Next.
A man could never
fuck?
do that. Like, you know what? I didn't want to have sex with her. She kind of forced me.
No
so.
man would buy it. No one would buy. Even the judge would be like, yeah, right, okay.
Yeah, so where is the equality? I'm looking for equality, man. I'm the biggest feminist now. I want equality. I don't want women to be like 13 years ago. I did want it at that time, but now when I think about it, I regret it. What do you think? You can just... Anyways.
The guy asked a question saying, how come you didn't do any police report back then? He says, well, because it's not fully rape and it's not that, because it was consensual and I kind of wanted to be there and I didn't tell anybody about it 6 years later. There's way too many things that doesn't give it credibility for somebody to say, I didn't do anything about it then, but 6 years later I told my friends, 3 or 6 years later.
Yeah. And this is the thing that's scary. If you say to any red-blooded male, 13 years ago you had sex with a woman consensually and she's now unhappy about how that sex happened. Any man on earth can get screwed with that. If this person exists at all. And like you said, she refused to go to the police if she exists. And she's saying it was consensual. I think last night they aired it on Newsnight, and they said, why are you coming forward now? And I think this actor, the person literally said, because now he's rich and famous. They literally said those words. That's what they said. Oh, because now he's rich and famous, I think it's unfair. It's asinine. I don't understand genuinely how a man can protect himself in the Western world anymore. How can you even exist anymore? If this is what they're going to hit you with as soon as you get to a certain level of influence, there's no man on earth who's safe from this. I said this to my judges. I had a few male judges. I said, they could do this to you. They could do this to anyone. They could do it to you or me or any man watching this. Any man watching this. They can put in the BBC 9 years ago you did something. They won't.
But that also showed the Me Too movement was really strong for a couple of years, but it actually died out. And a lot of people, that was on the Me Too movement are now like, yeah, it was maybe a bit over,
Exaggerated.
done. Yeah, exaggerated. So at least that's good.
Yeah, I think it was, what was her name? Johnny Depp's wife, Amber Heard, that completely put the nail in the coffin thing. I mean, it was dying before her, but she just finished it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because that shit was broadcasted everywhere, and I kind of like Amber Heard for that thing.
I'm grateful. I'm very grateful.
She took this to that length and made this being displayed all over the world,
the sacrifice
to show you that actually there are women that lies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like she was working for God there, even though she is a twisted motherfucker. Yeah, just like we talked about earlier in this stream, like evil, even though evil is bad, they can do a lot of good. Yeah. That's one of those things, you know what I mean? That's one of those things. Yeah.
Any chance to defend yourself, you have no idea what they're fucking talking about, and they will print it on repeat until you lose your job and lose your bank and lose your social media, and then you're going to sit there bankrupt and depressed, and then they're just going to move on from you. And if you don't die, if you're like me, a cockroach who refuses to die, if you sit around and refuse to go away, they're going to make up a new one. It's crazy, and it's genuinely scary, and you're not safe from it anywhere anymore. I will say right now on this podcast, I encourage absolutely anybody who believes I've harmed them, male or female, to go to the police with evidence, and we'll go to court. Let's do it. I don't harm people. If I was harming people, I wouldn't be out here as open as I was. The biggest criminals and the biggest gangsters and the most heinous people on earth don't have social media. You know this. Do I see a guy with an Instagram pretending he's a gangster? He's not a gangster. The real gangster hasn't got Instagram. But that's the reality of it. You think I'm going to become the most Googled man in the world if I've been running around hurting people? It's absolutely insane. And I think there has been a shift in the consciousness. I think, especially because of COVID and a few other things, people are starting to understand.
COVID really woke a lot of people.
And the harder they try and hurt me with these lies, the less people believe it, which is scary for me. Like I said earlier, it's scary. They keep coming up with more garbage. The bullets keep bouncing off. So now they're sitting around going, we can't convince the world this person is a bad person. How do we get rid of it?
Go feed the cat. Consequences are coming. Yeah. Did you hear Trump say? Trump said yesterday or something. He's like, "This is the final battle. We're gonna take down the deep state with you behind me. We're gonna go for it." Yeah. Yeah. Like Kramer. Yeah. Kramer from Seinfeld. Can he not confront his accuser? Is that the justice system you're trying to purport? It's ridiculous. What's up, Kenneth? What's up, Hercules? Yeah, his boob. Listen, they did a good job on his boobs, man. I saw it on at the White House. Listen, you don't need to go to the strip clubs to see boobs anymore. You just go to Biden's White House. Just go to Biden's White House. You will see boobs, man. Biden covers you, man. You know, you can count on Biden. His degeneracy. You can count on it, man. Biden grabs random baby crouch and sniffs little kids, so he has to normalize that stuff. Yeah, I've heard that. Yes. Now he's rich and famous. He fucked me before. He had all that money. I feel bad. If evil overextends its hand, it makes enough good people wake up.
Yeah.
What woke me up is that the news way saying BLM gathering weren't bad because of C-19, but Trump. Yeah, I agree.
Exactly.
I agree, man.
The hypocrisy with everything about that woke a lot of people up, thankfully.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of, you could say, life. You know, that they do these stupid things. It exposes shit. You know, it's fantastic. Okay, let's continue.
That's the scary part.
You were going to say something.
Yeah,
Follow-ups on that.
the 6 months, it's
6 months coming up right now.
It's coming up
Yeah.
June 29th, I believe?
Correct.
Okay, you put out a tweet recently. You said the 6-month time limit is running out,
Yeah.
right? There's zero evidence against me unless they invent something against me, right?
Yeah.
And then you ask a poll. You said if they charge me with an empty bullet and it still takes a year to beat it and allows them to save face, they're hoping that the world will basically forget about all this.
Yeah.
What do you think they will do? And you gave people 3 options. Option 1, let me go. Option 2, charge me with no evidence. Option 3, invent and frame attempt. The results were 38% let me go,
Yep.
right? 35% invent and frame attempt. And option 2, in third place, charge me with no evidence, 27%. 38%, 35%, 27%. So basically, it's pretty even. So what do you think is going to happen?
The 38% of people who think they're going to let me go, I think are extremely naive. I go to sleep every night, every morning. I wake up instinctually at 5 a.m. because that's when they raid your house. I wake up at like 4:59. I just fucking shoot up because they busted my house 3 times now. It's not nice to have a bunch of men with guns bust in your house. It's not a nice.
Yeah, I wonder, you know, let's say if he gets freed, which he should, they kind of tainted his house. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you want to live there anymore?
I don't know.
It's almost like if you have a brutal burglary,
Yeah.
you're not going to feel safe. That's safe, but you're going to
But then
feel
again-
like it's going to be tainted, as you said.
Then again, you could say wherever he
Yeah,
goes, he can't
exactly.
feel safe.
Exactly.
But yeah, never mind.
Experience.
Or,
So, every
okay,
single
like
morning-
this. It's like sleeping in the bed where you know that your husband or wife cheated on you.
Yeah, it's not a nice feeling.
Yeah. No, it's just a feeling. You know what happened in this bed. You're sleeping in it. It's not nice.
It's almost like their energy has
Yeah.
penetrated.
Yeah,
the
it has nothing
walls.
to do with scared. I will take that back.
Yeah.
Not scared. It's just tainted.
Yeah. Similar to Michael Jackson, when they raided his place, he's like, he was like, I can't live here anymore. It doesn't feel like my house.
I wake up expecting them to just turn up again with something else and drag me back to a prison cell. Who knows what? They'll just make it up. But the fact they made up this particular crime is because it's a hit piece and it's a slander on my reputation. If they would have done the same thing, let's say for tax evasion, would anyone care? No. Oh, rich guy didn't pay a piece of paper. No one cares. We have to hurt his name. Human trafficking. Think about that. I said this to the judge. How does it make sense? A man with no criminal record.
And I wonder, they used the human trafficking thing. I wonder if they did that to deflect from themselves, because the human trafficking thing has been talked about regarding the elites and the deep state. You know?
Epstein
So
and everything.
they're trying to use that and say we're not doing that shit. He is doing that. We're against that shit.
right.
That's why we're going after this guy. Look at him with his boats and all the ladies. You know, how do you think he got that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We are on the good side. We need to take this guy down, but Philip Skalsfrild, or what the fuck his name was, Philip Karlborg, his mom is sad for him, you know. What the fuck?
Who is financially successful, decides to begin to human traffic at 35 years of age. I have no financial motivation. It's clearly not my personality profile. I don't need money. Why have I begun to human traffic from nowhere? It doesn't even make any sense from a pure logical perspective. There's no motive to the crime. Who have I human trafficked? Who is the victim? There's no victims and there's no motive. And here I am on house arrest. It's insane. So yeah, it's genuinely intimidating. I don't know what's going to happen next. I believe they're going to try and charge me with the garbage they have. And I think what they're trying to do is just hang it over my head and keep me afraid.
You think the idea of trying to either silence you or make you irrelevant is working? Meaning, do you think you're more relevant today than you were on September 1st? Is that strategy they're implementing working?
No, they're failing. And the reason they're failing is because God's put me in a position where I have to lead from the front. I think that in the days of old, when politics used to mean something, I believe in politics as long as the leader of the country charges on his horse at the enemy at the front. Then you're allowed to be king. Then I'll listen to your laws. That's politics. When you send other people's kids to die in a war and you sit on your ass, that's not politics to me. But now I'm in a position where I'm spearheading, by God's plan, the rights of basically every man on earth. They could do this to anybody. So I think any man with a brain who's thinking is looking at my position and going, they could hit me, or my friends, or my son, or my dad the same way they're hitting this guy. And that builds a degree of affinity amongst my audience. So no, they fail.
Yeah, that's what people need to realize. There is no middle ground, dude. Pick a fucking side. And you better pick the right side. You know what I mean? You better pick the right side, because if you think you're going to be safe on the other side, no, you're going to be a good slave for these sick fucking elites. And they're going to do to you like they do on that movie Hostel. You know, if you haven't seen Hostel, it's about sick, bored elites that buys victims to do sick shit to them, torturing and eat them and all kinds of crazy shit. That is what awaits you if you don't pick the right side. Anyways.
They failed and they made a hero out of me, which is what I'm actually scared of. I am scared by the incompetence of my enemy. I'm scared by the fact that they are failing so monumentally. If they had been half successful with the cancellation, none of this would have happened. If the cancellation made me an obscure internet personality, it'd be over. If I would have just allowed them to beat me, none of this would happen. But I beat them. And that's the problem. Now I'm sitting here going, okay, well, after I beat the BBC, after I destroyed the BBC, Tristan gave me a high five. He said, oh, you reckon they're going to look so stupid? I said, bro, we've sunk the HMS Hood. HMS Hood in World War II, HMS Hood was the British battleship. It was the flagship of the Royal Navy. And the Royal Navy was obviously renowned. It has been for hundreds of years. It was the best battleship. And it was up against German battlecruiser, the Bismarck. And the Hood should have outgunned the Bismarck. And it was the best German ship against the best British ship. By absolute fluke, the Bismarck, on its first volley or second volley, landed a shell perfectly through the top of the Hood and blew up the ammo magazine. And like in the first shot, within minutes, destroyed the entire HMS Hood. Killed I think it was 3,000 people, 2 survivors. You can find the video on YouTube, the Hood blow into pieces. When Churchill found out the Hood was sunk, he said, sink the Bismarck, don't care what it costs. He sent every ship, every plane, every sub diverted from every other mission. Doesn't care if we lose every plane we have, don't care if we lose the RAF. We cannot lose the Hood without him losing the Bismarck. Sink the Bismarck. When the Bismarck sunk the Hood, all of the crew were celebrating, except the captain. The captain updated his will. He updated his will and telegraphed home to his wife and said goodbye. Because he knew. When I destroyed the BBC, my brother was celebrating. I knew. I said, Tristan, no. You don't beat the British Broadcasting Corporation to make fools of them like this without some new bullshit. We sunk the Hood. And he's like, oh, we'll see. Oh, who's this? Evie? Evie. I fucking knew it. I'm winning too well. I'm scared by the incompetence of these clowns. Evie. But I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. Am I supposed to lose? I'm genuinely looking for guidance here. Am I supposed to roll over and fucking lose? When they're lying about me and slandering my name and trying to put me back in a fucking dungeon? Back with the cockroaches? All I can do is protest my innocence, but they're such idiots, I make them look so stupid, and then there's egos involved. You think Lucy Williamson hasn't been called into a meeting room with some BBC producer saying, you made a fool of us? Yes, she has. There's egos involved. Big businessmen with business interests have ego investment in hurting me now. And I keep winning. So I don't know, I'm in a very precarious scenario. Do I continue to win? Do I let them win a bit? Do I just roll over and shut up? What am I supposed to do? I don't know what the right move is. It's difficult.
You sincerely don't know what the right move is.
I sincerely have decided that the best thing I can do is stay true to my faith and stay true to God and tell the truth and fight. The right move for me, I believe, is to fight. And fight to the end, because I think that suicide is always the wrong option. I believe if you're put in a bad position, the best thing you should possibly do is fight to the best of your ability, which is what I'm going to do. However, if I was looking at it purely logically without any kind of ideological motivations, perhaps if I would have shut up when they wanted me to, I wouldn't be in this scenario. But that's just not who I am. You know, Alexander the Great didn't have to keep conquering. Genghis Khan didn't need to take Vienna. He could have just chilled. He kept going. So I feel like when I'm in a position where I don't know what I'm supposed to do, the best thing I can do is just look to God and tell the truth. And that's what I'm doing.
I want to ask you one more question regarding human trafficking, because this is a heinous charge, or
Absolutely.
allegedly. I mean, this is not lightweight stuff. You famously ran a webcam business, perfectly legal, nothing wrong with that. I mean, I can't tell you how many women are doing OnlyFans these days, webcam business. How much of a reason was that? A correlation for the human trafficking, the sex trafficking, the webcam business. How much did they correlate that to? Well, he must be human trafficking. He's running a webcam business. There's no correlation.
Zero correlation.
So they haven't even charged any of the webcam.
Okay,
business.
so they connect webcam business to trafficking. Okay, so that's what they're doing regarding Andrew.
But he says they don't.
What do you mean they don't?
When he answers now, he say they don't ask anything about his webcam business.
Yeah, but that's what he thinks, the Adam guy.
Hey, he's just asking.
Yeah, but if that's true, then what should we do when we look at the pride stuff? What is the pride stuff connected to?
Till.
That's Swedish. You know, what is the pride stuff connected to? If they actually connect this webcam thing to trafficking, then what the fuck is that shit?
Oof, we have a lot of connections then.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Zero. And what's crazy is...
It's crazy because people assume that, right?
It's crazy because one, it's not illegal. And two, you can go drive down the high street of Romania. There's webcam studios it's one of the most popular businesses in the country. It's not even illegal. And that was a past life. You're talking about something that happened 10 years ago.
It was that long ago?
It was about 10 years ago, yeah. It was at the very beginning of it. The very beginning of the whole idea of that industry.
Minect is an application which allows you to take a minute to connect with influencers from all around the world. My name is Andrew Tate, and I'm available to speak directly to you on Minect.
I think it's just perception. I understand I have this perception. And I think a lot of people who are also dislike me, a lot of the reason they dislike me so much is my perception. I've had people who say, I hate what you say. I say, what do I say? And after talking to them a while, they say, it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Of course.
It's the perception of aggression. It's the perception of masculinity that they're afraid of. It's not even the words. They might like the words. It's my delivery. So I understand perception can be reality to a degree. I accepted that maybe the first month I was in jail. I understand when you have a message which is complicated, and masculinity as a whole is a very complicated tapestry, that the best way to instill it and teach it is to break it down to its core beliefs. So I've evolved way beyond Lamborghinis and chicks, right? But masculinity as a whole is a very complicated tapestry. You need to have the emotionality. You need to have the times you feel like crying and you don't. You need to have the times you can be aggressive. You need to have the times that you can be violent to protect your family. It's very complicated. And you can't teach that, especially to the young generation, in spite of the constant propaganda they have coming in their ears, very easily. So I break it down to a very core message. And the core message is that I have financial freedom, so it's hard to tell me what to do. And I have sexual access because I'm respected by women. And I have a good network because I'm respected by men. I break it down to those core things. And those core things are what I build that's how you build the tapestry of masculinity. Because if you don't have those three core things, you can never build the rest of it. That's the beginning of it. If you don't have those three things, it's hard to build the rest. So anybody who doesn't look into my message properly, I mean, I'm sure these people who are after me have never listened to me speak at length, ever. Ever. They just look at a picture. He's on a boat, there's 3 girls on the boat. There's no way those girls are happy with that, because my wife hates me, and there's 3 of them. So he has to go to jail. And that's what's happening. It's that baseline. I truly believe it's that baseline. But how else can I teach my message, as complicated as it is, without first breaking down and proving you have success in the most core levels of it, right? Before you learn to box, you jab and you cross. Before you do all the complicated stuff, you do the basic stuff. So a lot of it is people looking at my message, not understanding how detailed it is, not understanding how positive it is, looking at the baseline instincts which I teach and which I use to advertise my success as a whole to people to show and say, look, I clearly know what I'm talking about to a degree, because I have things that you want. And you're a man, so you can't tell me you don't want them. Every man wants this. Every man wants one of these. And they take all this and they try and weaponize it and use it against me. And you're right. It's feminism as a whole that has this idea that if a man is a man, unapologetically, and he doesn't apologize for being a man, that he's a bad person. Which we've discussed at length, and I've discussed a bunch of times, but it's truly the most crazy thing about all of this is when shit hits the fan, it's exactly the kind of men they hate that they want. Every single time. Every single time. You can go out to a bar in America and you can stand there and argue with a feminist and argue with her to the end of time. And if someone ran in there with a gun, she would say, hey, you go. You're the misogynist. You go protect me. The feminist guy who's on my team, I don't want him to go. I want you to go, please.
We don't want Dylan Mulvaney on the front lines.
Of course not. And it's hypocritical. And it's
Yeah,
hypocritical.
those types of women, they want the feminist guys for, I don't know, like their pet, you know, or
Pet
like
and friends,
or safety,
yeah.
you know, for some.
like an insider to the male. Maybe they can get some hints and tips.
Yeah, they want those feminine men for other reasons, and then they want to use the masculine ones to enforce some shit. Or
and it's done
protect
on
them.
purpose. It's purported by the Matrix. It's done to attack the baseline masculinity of men because they don't want men to be masculine. Because when you're masculine, you say no to things. I saw a really interesting study once. that was it had testosterone level, and it was linked to your capability to disagree with people. The higher your testosterone level, the more likely you are to disagree, because at a baseline level, back before we were more civilized than we are today, if you disagreed with someone, you had to fight him. You had to fight that man. For you to sit and say you are wrong, there had to be a possibility of violence. If you didn't have the capability for violence, you didn't say they're not. You didn't say they were wrong. You just agreed with stuff, right? So they don't want men.
Yeah, because when two people are arguing, eventually it will become a fight.
And then you need to be ready for it. And
Yeah.
if you don't have the testosterone, you will be a coward. You wouldn't dare.
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing two really masculine men, disagreeing and then, riling up, and then like, turn out and leave.
Right.
That's not gonna happen.
But I think this goes for the society at all, especially here in Sweden, where people are so afraid to speak their mind. And I'm not talking about, what do you think of politics or Andrew Tate
In
or
general,
anything.
just-
In general, like, what's your favorite restaurant? I don't know. I like it. Depends on my mood. People cannot speak their mind because they're so afraid to say something that you don't agree with.
Yeah.
Or what is not correct to say or to think.
Yeah.
Like the smallest things. And it drives me crazy. You cannot have a normal, even small talk has become complicated now. Even small talk is now, you need to be careful. Oh, it's very hot, the weather. But now we need to talk about, the climate. Yeah, it's very hot for being in June. Now I need to agree with that, even though I'm thinking, but last summer it was warmer in June, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think it is also like this. If you can't understand what some people's opinions are, then you can't really know them. You know what I mean? If they never tell you what they think about anything, then you can never connect, right?
Yeah, you can never connect, and that is scary, and that is why you feel more alone than you should do. We feel alone because we don't have a lot of like-minded people around us, right? But now we feel more alone because the people you interact with, are they really people? The few people that we meet.
Who knows?
Are standing up and saying, I don't believe in X. They want to reduce our testosterone levels to where eunuchs, so that we sit and say, well, I may not agree with it, but what can I really do about it? It is what it is. And then they have absolute control.
Do you think history favors that ideology? Where history, eventually, a group of men stand up and say, yeah, listen, we've had enough, this is not going to be happening.
I do believe that in history it's always been the same. I believe it's always been a select group of good men who are up against evil. And I think they've always been outnumbered, and it's always been difficult, and they've always suffered. All of them. When I was in jail, the amount of letters I got from people, and it was just names of, and I'm not comparing myself to these people, this is the letters I got of Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, everyone who was unjustly imprisoned. Everyone's gone to jail. Because when you stand up for something, they end up trying to put you in jail. When you're a good person trying to do good, the evil, the matrix as a whole is going to try and throw you in jail. That's what they do. That's the punishment for it. And history's always been the same. It's always been a small group of outgunned people who stand up, who are to the detriment of themselves, too principled to allow injustice and evil to thrive. And they stand up and they're outgunned and they're outnumbered, but they're like, no, I have to tell the truth. If you play a video game and you're the good guy, when you get to the boss at the end, he has more life than you. He has more hit points and he moves faster and he's a cheater. He cheats. The bad guy cheats, but you still win because you're good. And that's how the bad
And that's what we talked about. The evil needs some leverage or something,
But evil always needs to be a bit stronger than the good guys, like he says with the boss in the video game, for the good guys to really show that, because if the good guy could just crush the bad guy, it would be
nothing.
like nothing.
Yeah, it's like a bug. But it's like the saying, one candle can lit up a whole room, but the other way around doesn't work. You can have all of the darkness there is, and it still can't really kill this one candle. It can, right? The candle will always be there. Unless you somehow take it out.
has always been. I would love for the world to be another way, but I don't think it's ever been that way. I think if you find any time in history, it's always been the same story. And now I'm in the position where, like I said earlier, what am I supposed to do? Do I have a life path in which I can genuinely help people? And do I have a life path in which I can genuinely do some damage to the evils of the world? Or am I just going to disappear like a coward and let them lie about me and do my time and shut up and delete my Twitter account and just go away?
You know how sometimes, like, I've been in sales for quite a while. If a guy who doesn't have any responsibilities and he's single, he has a $30,000 a month, boom, he's going to Vegas having a good time, and then he doesn't work as hard until he runs out of his $30,000. 3 months later, I got to go make the $30,000 again. Oh my God, panic! I got to pay my bills. I'm behind on the phone. Let me buy this watch and make 40 grand. I'm going out again. So it's very inconsistent, right? And then as you're in sales longer, you're like, okay, the profile of somebody that's going to be more consistent is not a single guy. It's a guy that's married, kids, homeowner, and all those three are signs of what? Married, commitment.
Yep.
Homeowner, commitment, responsibility. Kids, commitment, responsibility. Yep. Last time we didn't talk about your kids. Yep. At this point, I think it's public video, your daughter running to me, give daddy a kiss, all this stuff. Everybody knows at this point. Yep. When you're in jail, sometimes I sit there and I got books on my desk. I'm like 50 books behind. And I like to read. I know you don't talk about reading a lot, but I like to. I'm 50 books behind. But I bet if you're in a place where you're in jail, you're forced to think. You're forced to, Andrew, you don't have the phone, you don't have the computer, there is no emergency podcast. Go away and think. You're sitting there, you're like, okay, family, kids, you know, what it's really all about. Those decisions, when you think about your kids, does it influence you to say, oh, what are you doing this? You know, why are you going through all this stuff? Maybe you got to make some changes in your lifestyle. And if yes, in what areas? Or does it say, no, double down even more because I'm fighting for them?
And that's a really interesting question. I'll start by saying how thoughts in jail are different than thoughts in the outside world, because this is actually an observation I had. In the outside world, I don't think you carry a thought for very long that you don't want to carry. You can sit and think about something if you want to, but if you don't want to think about something, you just get your phone out. Something pops in your head, oh, I don't think. You get your phone out and distract yourself. Or you get on your laptop, or you call someone, or you do something, right? It's not very often in the real world. It's not very often in the real world you have a thought you don't want in your head, and you have nothing to take it away. You have no phone, you have no outside interaction, you have nowhere to go.
What a perspective.
Nothing. You're just stuck with
it. It can force your thought to just multiply. Until it's like, until you might even get a panic attack if it multiplies big enough and it's a bad, and if it's a bad thought, you know.
Yeah. You're stuck with that thought. So there were times in jail where, for the first time, like I have a lot of mental control, but there was the first time ever I'm battling with my own mind saying, I don't want to think about this. And I put another thought in the way. It was on the door. It was knocking on the door all
And if you say, I don't want to think about it, it doesn't really work.
No.
You know? Because it's still lingering there. Like, and you're still thinking of that. You don't want to think about it. So, yeah.
Time. And this is for weeks. Because every day is the same. You never get the outside interaction. And you also, what made it worse is, you never get the answer. You know, like the open loop. If you ever say to somebody, I'm going to tell you something, I'll tell you later. And it bothers them. That's what jail's like. Because you might think of something. It doesn't matter what it is. I won't say what my thought was, but I'll give you an example. Let's say I thought, when did Constantinople fall? What year? I can't just Google it. I don't know. So it's stuck in your head, right? So if you have this negative thought, you don't know the answer. Normally in life, when you want to know something, you find out. But in jail, you don't. So you're like, I don't know. You got this in your head, and you're like, I can't get this out of my head. So when you have a negative thought, especially if there's an open loop to it, you need to know something or you want to know something. You can't get it out of your mind. I would sit there for hours just meditating, trying to just keep the door closed on negative thoughts. It's really difficult. It's a really strange experience. And maybe in normal jail in Western countries where you get to go and interact with people, you can distract yourself. But I was stuck in a room for 93 days in one room. I did not leave. That was where I was. I was allowed to go to the fridge once a day, which is a 3-meter walk and back. That is it in my room.
You and Tristan are in the same room or no?
At the beginning we weren't, but then we ended up in the same room.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, the thoughts in jail are very pervasive. And it's also a long time, maybe never, in the outside world where I had a thought in my head for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. You just satisfy the problem. You fix the issue in the real world. In jail, you can't do that. So yeah, family and kids, and those are the positive things that you do think about. But it's difficult because I think of children, I think of legacy. And then if you're going to think of your legacy via your children, you have to think of your legacy via your actions. And then you have to sit and by extension go, well, truly on my deathbed, truly, will I be happier if I gave up or if I continued to tell the truth? I'm scared of the regret of thinking, you know what, I was the most famous man in the world and every man on earth was listening to me and I was really making a difference, but I got scared. I don't think I can live with it. I don't think I can live as a coward. I'd feel like a pussy. I just feel like a wimp. And
this is the thing when you have kids, right? You have the choice to back down and
or double up.
Yeah. You back down because you're thinking, what if something happens to my kids? You know? The only problem here is something will happen to your kids if you don't do things about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you may think, I'm going to back down and then my kids are safe. Yeah, for a little while, maybe. But eventually, we're all fucked. Including your kids. You know what I mean? Like, what we're facing with AI and these...
I would say especially the kids, if they go to normal school and so, because they will be so indoctrinated and brainwashed that they will not even know, what's really happening to them, to the world. We know. Because we've seen the other world.
Yeah. But what I mean is,
No, I know what you mean.
if
I
we
just-
don't win this, we're
absolutely.
enslaved,
Yeah.
including your kids.
Yeah.
So there is
but
no
the plan-
backing
but the-
down.
Yeah,
really.
absolutely. But the plan for them now is to take the kids, so the kids will take over. Of course, the kids will take over. But the kids today will not resist
Yeah.
because they are so brainwashed. They will fight us. The kids
Yeah.
today, in 10 years, they will fight us.
Yeah.
Sometimes, inside of men, that's all it takes for us to do the most stupid things there is. The idea of feeling like a coward. A man will run into a burning building to not be a coward. If the firefighter, they go, there's children in there, and the whole building's on fire. They go, I can't be a coward. Oh, fuck it. And you'll risk your life. It's something that's built inside of us, honor and pride. It's something that should be. It's what they're trying to take away from us. But it's what used to be built inside of men. And I just feel like I can't give up. I know what I'm doing is good. I know what I'm teaching is
Is
good.
that also
I know-
connected? He says it's built into a man. Is that also connected maybe to the level of testosterone in your body? Because it doesn't feel as självklart,
Obvious.
obvious,
Yeah.
that every guy would think like that today. To run into a burning building to save children. For me, it's not obvious that every man would do that.
Yeah.
And is that then connected to the level of testosterone because that makes them more scared?
Fearless.
Yeah.
Fearless.
Yeah, with less testosterone,
Ah.
you get scared.
Yeah, with less. Yes.
So with more
but I
you
wouldn't.
get-
I wouldn't say it's all testosterone. I would say testosterone is. That's what I think. I would say testosterone is a
Testosterone.
is a big part of it. And I also think if your mind is set in the right way, I don't know if it's from the.
Would you say
when
like
you're a
this
kid
then?
or-
Okay. Would you say like this then? Has it to do anything with faith?
In God.
Yeah, because of honor. How would I put this? The ego, that you're so egoistic that you will not risk your life for anyone else.
Yeah.
But if you believe in God,
You're
then
gonna
God,
do the right
yeah,
thing.
Exactly. God will go before your ego. So to do the right thing is more important than your ego.
Yeah.
So maybe because of less testosterone, lack of God,
Yeah.
believing in God, and maybe also what moral standards you've been raised with.
Yeah. It's a combination of those things, I think. I don't think just testosterone will make you a good person that
not a
protects
good person.
everybody. You know?
No, not a good person. But what is making people not running into a burning building? Like just I think it was yesterday. A 15-year-old girl was stabbed in the back by some lady here in Sweden, and no one did nothing.
What?
Yeah.
A lady stabbed a
and then-
15-year-old girl.
Yeah, and then some guy saved her. But no one does anything anymore.
Yeah. It's because it's becoming wicked, wicked, and guys are becoming feminized. It's a combination of shit.
People don't like it, but I know I'm not teaching anything that's bad. And yeah, I want my children to be happy, but I have daughters too. And how do you
knows
make sure that your daughters are secure and have a good future? Well, I think you do that by building good men. How else do you do it? My daughter is mine now, but she won't be mine forever. She's going to marry somebody. I like the idea of her marrying a good man with honor and principle, a man like me. I don't want to marry some idiot. So they call me a misogynist and I'm anti-woman. I'm pro-woman. The best way you can improve the lives of women is make men, better at being men. Because when a man is a good man, he's good for all of society, including women. He's good for everyone around him when he's good at being a man. So I feel like I'm helping them as well by extension. And it's difficult. And yeah, I can't say with honesty that I strongly considered giving up. It never crossed my mind. It was there for a second. Do I need to do this? And after like half a second, it was like, yeah, I do. I don't know why. I can't. It doesn't make logical sense.
So kids didn't influence it one way or another?
Kids made me want to do it more.
Kids made you want to do it
Kids
more.
made me want to do it.
Got it.
I look up to my father as a hero, and I would hate for my sons to look up at me and not see me.
Well, it wasn't. Isn't that back in the days with war and stuff? They did it for their children, for their families. Guys went to war to protect the livelihood of their family, which is
For their future.
Yeah, and the family is of course the kids.
Yeah.
So that's a given for me, right? You want to fight what's evil because you have kids, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, that is how it should be.
Yeah. Or how it always used to be.
Yeah. Because you can't let that evil just be there and just live your life, because that evil will come to you. Back.
I can understand people that don't have kids that are like, whatever, fuck it. Because for them, they don't have something that, you know, attach them to this world. You know what do you get me?
Yeah.
I know what you're going to say, but you get what I mean.
Yeah, I do. Yes. Yeah.
Because that's how I believe you should see your dad, as a hero. And I feel like and you're not a hero without an enemy, and you're not a hero without fight.
Did they ever try to, and by the way, I don't see this working effectively at all, but did they at all try to come in between you and Tristan, or you and the two girls, or the two of you and them? Was there any manipulation and divisiveness going on there?
What about these stories that came out that you've got cancer and lung cancer, and then you were poisoned?
It's going to be so interesting to hear that.
Are you planting these stories? Are they making these things up?
No, so the cancer thing is interesting, because by Romanian law, every 30 days to extend the arrest, there has to be new information. They can't extend the arrest based on the previous information. So they put together all this garbage case and arrested me for 30 days. To keep me another 30 days, they have to find something during that 30-day arrest period to keep me for the second month. But of course, there's nothing to find. So when I was having medical scans in Dubai, a dark spot was identified on my lung. And I had follow-up tests booked for February. So after the first 30 days, I called up my PA and she said, "Are you coming to Dubai?" I said, "Well, yeah, if they let me go at the end of these 30 days, I'll come to Dubai for my medical tests." They took that conversation and used it in court, saying I'm trying to flee the country and trying to escape the judicial system as motivation for the second month's arrest. And the judge agreed and locked me in jail because I said that I would go to a medical appointment if I was free. And they used that as proof I'm trying to run because they had nothing else. And the judge agreed for some reason and kept me in jail. Then everything in Romania leaks. So it leaked that I had this medical thing in Dubai, I had a problem with my lungs. And then there's a hospital here. And I decided to go to the hospital here and have it looked at because although I was not concerned, I thought, you know what? Although it's difficult to do procedures in jail, I have time for once in my life. So I decided to go to the hospital here in Romania. And Romania does have some private healthcare, which is actually very high quality. It's not as poor as people think it is. And I went to a private hospital, and I knew it wasn't cancer. I knew it wasn't. I sat down with the doctor and said, "We're really concerned about this dark spot in your lung." I said, "It's not cancer." He said, "How do you know?" I said, "That's just not my life path. It's not my story."
You told him that?
Yeah. The doctor was like, "Okay, but we have to investigate." I said, "We can investigate, but it's just not my story. It's not cancer. I'm 0%.
When BBC came, did you have guys like watching every move they were making? You had to almost feel like one-on-one, right? Somebody's watching everything they're doing.
Everything.
You have to do it, right? You can't be, you have to be overly paranoid and skeptical with these
If they
guys.
want to hear about, Ricky Tang's crime lord, if they want to hear more about the crime syndicate in Hong Kong, I can tell them all about it because Carter and Lee's going to get it under control. This is the thing. This is actually a really interesting point, which I'll go into before I finish the lung story. So I went to the doctors here. In Romania, everything leaks. It leaked out to the press. I had this mark on my lungs. I was supposed to go to Dubai. They denied me going to Dubai. They said that's enough reason to hold me and keep me in jail, which is absolutely insane, all because I also had a phone call about a medical procedure. It's crazy. But they were always going to keep me anyway and find some reason. I went there. I had a bronchioscopy. Have you ever had one of them? Bro. I wouldn't call it painful, but it's certainly horrible. So they put a camera in your lung. So it's down your throat, but it's in your lung. It's not down your throat. It's into the airway. So you're trying to vomit and you're trying to cough, and you can barely do either. And they're moving this camera around inside. It's extremely unpleasant.
It sucks. I had it 3 years ago in Dallas for the whole allergy thing.
Did you have a bronchioscopy?
Yeah, they had to knock you out. It's terrible.
Yeah.
You've had the same procedure.
Were you awake or asleep?
No, they gave me anesthesia, so I was asleep.
Oh, bro, here.
What were you?
I was awake.
Yeah.
Wide awake.
Yeah.
I was wide awake.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah. They gave me this, they tried to numb your throat a bit, and then they gave it to me. And the doctors all around me. It's kind of interesting because when something is in your mouth and you're choking, you want to grab it, right? So you're on a chair, and you're like tied to the chair, so you can't move your hands. So you're like tied to the chair and you're like this, and they put this thing down your throat, this camera, and you're trying to vomit and you're trying to cough, but they can't move the camera when you're coughing. So even the armed guard who took me, the police officer, the guy, he was in the corner of the room, and even I could see on his face, he was like, fucking hell. And I don't even want to reenact it because it's probably so horrible to look at, but you're just like you're trying to vomit, you're trying to cough, you're like, your face is bright red, you can't breathe, and they're like, stop coughing, stop coughing, stop coughing, and you have to try and stop coughing for like 2 seconds so they can adjust the camera a bit. It's the worst 20 minutes of my life. It was horrible. They finish that and they go, okay, well, the good news is there's precisely 0 smoking damage on your lungs, and your lungs are perfect. But the lesion, whatever it is on the outside of your lungs. It's not the inside of your lungs. We couldn't see anything. So I completed that procedure, went back to jail. That was a nice evening. Horrible. Anyone who has bronchioscopy, yeah, go to sleep. Don't stay awake. Horrible. Then they said we have to find it. We have to get a biopsy from the outside of your lungs. So we have to put a needle through your back, a needle like this long, through your back, through your rib cage, to your lung.
How thick is that needle?
And take a piece of it and then pull the needle back out and then do a biopsy on the piece. Now, they're like, this is an operation. Do you want to have it while you're in jail? Because the bronchioscopy wasn't much to recover from. I had a really sore throat, whatever. But this is an operation. Do you want to have it while you're in jail? And I was like, well, why not? I'm in jail. I have time. I can't recover, but I have time. So I went for my CT guided biopsy. They put you on your front. They show you the needle. It's like this long. And then they stick it in you, and then they scan you with the biopsy, and they try and see where the mark is, and they adjust the needle, and they scan it. It's like 30 minutes of them shoving this needle in you, trying to get to the right point. And eventually they did the biopsy, and they said, yeah, it's benign. Some lesion I might have had from when I had pneumonia when I was a kid, something was benign. And as I told you, I knew that cancer wasn't my life path. I knew it wasn't. But obviously rumors spread like wildfire.
Wildfire. Everybody in the States.
Especially because I smoke all the time.
Right.
But it was actually very refreshing to hear. I have zero smoking damage to my lungs, zero. I was like, there's zero? I mean, I'll accept a little bit. I'll take a little bit, but I think it's because I train every single day. I work out every single day. I train hard every single day. And I think, you burn it off. A couple cigars here and there are not a big deal. It's not cigarettes. I think cigars are better than cigarettes. I also believe nicotine is a super drug, so I'm not going to stop. I think nicotine and caffeine.
Super drug?
100%.
What does that mean?
Nicotine and caffeine are what I run on. 100, that's all I run on. Coffee's for closers, bro. Tell him.
I'm the only one that drinks coffee, the two of us.
Oh, really?
By the way, you know who talked about nicotine? Tucker Carlson talked about nicotine, right? Have you seen that when he talks about nicotine, where he starts his day off with nicotine?
Fire, 100%, fire blood. I have about 10 to 15 cups of coffee a day and 2 or 3 cigars a day, and I only eat once a day. And it's funny because people look at
10 to 15
cups of coffee a day minimum.
Wow. But you don't do drugs.
Zero drugs.
You'll have a sip of alcohol every once in a while.
I used to. I haven't had alcohol in 9 months. I've quit.
But you're running on caffeine and nicotine.
It's funny because people look at my physique when I put pictures up and they're like, "What's your meal plan?" I'm like, "Bro, cigars, coffee,
coffee and cigars,
coffee and cigars." I eat once a day. I eat once a day.
What time?
I eat dinner only.
That's it.
Only eat dinner and 8.
So you do intermittent fasting for 18 hours? What?
Yeah, and 80 to 90% of my calories are meat. That's it. I'll just have like 3 steaks for dinner. So.
Now, how much of that is genetics? How much is that like?
I'm not sure.
No carbs.
That's just how I feel best. I feel best when if I smoke and drink coffee all the time, I feel hungry, which motivates me, and I feel energetic. It's energetic hungry. That's how I like to feel when I'm working. I want to be hungry. If I eat, I'm tired. Life's too good if I eat. I'm in my mansion. I'm just eating. She's beautiful. I'm in bed. No, but if I don't eat, I'm like, maybe, I wouldn't say angry, but I like to have that tinge of irritableness. Does that make sense? I don't know. Maybe I sound crazy. It's how I get things done. It's how I get life done. It's just how
12 cups of coffee a day, 3 cigars, and you eat once a day.
That's right. Yeah.
And you train every day.
I train every day. Yeah.
And it's working. Working for you.
It's how I feel best.
I don't know if you wrote a book on Tate's diet, if that book would do that.
Well, this is interesting because I had a blood test when I was in hospital for all these things, and my testosterone level, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on male hormones because I'm not. I don't understand them. I don't know what measurement it's in, but it was between 9 and 27 is the testosterone level, the mark, between 9 and 27 the normal range. I've never taken a steroid in my life. I don't inject anything. I don't take any pills, nothing. And I was 32. I was above the normal scale, and I'm 36 years old. It's supposed to be going down. So whatever I'm doing, I'm sticking to it.
What was your diet and your regimen while in jail? There was no coffee?
I had coffee and cigarettes. Don't worry, bro. I had those.
Really?
I spent my commissary money on coffee and cigarettes. I had coffee and cigarettes and 1 meal a day, same.
I think losing testosterone is not just depending on physical stuff. I think your mentality can
Absolutely.
make it so that you lose testosterone
I think so,
as
too.
well. If you're a pussy in the head, you're gonna lose way more than if you were not a pussy in the head.
So there was commissary money.
Yeah, so we had.
Who gave you that?
Yeah, so a friend of mine put money on my account. So I was a rich guy in jail, because in Romanian jail, most people haven't got money, right? I was rich. I was rich. There's a limit to how much you can buy, but I was spending the maximum. So I had plenty of cigarettes, coffee. I actually quit coffee. Now we're talking about coffee, and then I want to go back to the point you made earlier, but I quit coffee for the first 30 days in jail. Because I've never not been caffeinated. My experience of life is caffeinated. Caffeinated human, right? If I'm awake, it's caffeine. So I'm like, I don't need energy now. I'm in jail. So I quit caffeine and all coffee for 30 days to see if there's any tangible benefits, and I can confirm to the world that there are none. Zero. I did not sleep any better. I did not go to sleep any easier. I did not dream anymore. Nothing, absolutely nothing good happened, except I was tired all day. It was garbage. I was like, give me my coffee back. I went back to my 15 cups of coffee a day.
That's pretty wild to have that much coffee. The last time I drank coffee, I was 25.
We have one friend.
Literally.
We have one friend that drinks almost as much
Mario
coffee.
drinks
Mario.
as much as
Shout
you.
out to
And by the way,
Mario.
everybody around me loves coffee,
Yeah.
including my 11-year-old son, Tico. Him and his mom got into an argument the other day because she didn't want to take him to Starbucks. He's like, what do you mean? It's like, I want some coffee. He's like, you're not having coffee at 11 years old. Anyways, but it's working for you. It's working for your body.
Correct.
Sometimes when you find a diet or a combination that hits your body well, you'll know it, you'll feel it. And you have to know your body the best.
Correct. I think there's no perfect diet for everybody.
I agree.
Everyone's slightly different.
I agree.
And that's just, and I think you are what you eat to a degree, and it also depends on the mental model you want to operate under. If I wanted to operate under comfort, I certainly wouldn't eat the way I eat. I do it because I particularly want to operate under a degree of irritability and high energy and hunger. I like feeling hungry. I don't like feeling full. I like being hungry all the time.
I love that. I mean, that's the quality of people where, you can tell a lot from somebody how big they think after they make money and they have some success.
Yeah.
When they make money, that's when they slow down, that's when they get casual, the hunger goes away.
Yeah.
you'll really know if somebody's hungry when they made money and they're still going. What is this guy doing still going?
Yeah.
You've already made the money. You've already had the success. Let's transition to a couple other stories here. So
True shit.
all of a sudden you put in your profile. Obviously, I joked about it. You're the most Googled women on earth. You know, that was based on your Twitter profile. You know, Nina Turner comes out and says, if somebody says they're a woman, they're a woman. Not a tough concept. Your response is, I'm a woman, right? You do that. And you've left
I
it
am a woman and you're a man. Right? Good.
on Twitter.
Yeah,
Tell us why.
because I am. You don't believe me?
You're a woman?
Are you misgendering me?
I have to choose to agree with you, right?
My
I don't believe
pronouns
you.
are she, her. No, but the level
And the
of...
funny thing is, if we've talked about this before, but if you do that, like if Andrew says he's a woman, they will laugh at.
But he did.
Exactly, they don't take you seriously. Why not? You know, why not?
It's all a joke, right? But there's actually a very sinister undertone to all of this garbage. And the sinister undertone is that your baseline instincts and your baseline senses are how you've always perceived the world, right? They have to attack them at some level. And they did. I mean, it's fantastic with COVID. COVID, I know we can talk about it now, it was amazing. I used to say to people all the time, who have you seen die? Do you see a pandemic? Yeah, on the news. No. Do you see ambulances rushing back and forth everywhere? Do you see bodies on the street? Do you see lines outside of hospitals? Do you see a pandemic? How a pandemic would look? Do you see a pandemic? Oh, but my friend's grandma, your friend's grandma was 96. Okay? So I'm not saying it's not sad. I'm saying she was 96. Do you see a pandemic? No, you don't. But they have just lied to you so many times that you're ignoring your own eyes. That's the final stage of the slave mind. It's the final stage of it. The final stage of the slave mind is when your eyes tell you this is green, but the news told you it was blue. So
Yeah. But regarding the C19, like if you still have doubts about was it real, was it not, whatever, just look at, what was it, March 24th of 2022, when the Ukraine thing happened. You know, as soon as the Ukraine thing happened,
Everything
they
was
dropped the
fine.
C19
Yeah.
because for whatever reason, the Ukraine is really important.
Yeah,
for
as
them.
Andrew said, Putin cured COVID.
Yeah. So, let's say before whatever the date of the Ukraine thing, COVID was still a thing, you know. But then the Ukraine thing happened, and then it disappeared. So we went from, oh shit, it's super dangerous, then the Ukraine happened, and it disappeared after that.
Yeah.
What a coincidence that the Ukraine happened, and then, oh, COVID disappeared. The fuck, man?
has to be blue. So when they're doing these things, it's nothing to do with caring about the mental health, of gender ideology, none of this garbage. They're deliberately attacking you and saying, what your eyes tell you is wrong. Because if they can make you start to admit that your own eyes are wrong, then what other defense do you have against propaganda? If they're going to give you a lie, but your own eyes can't protect you, well then it's over, isn't it? So all of these things they're doing, all of these things are a deliberate assault on the senses. And they do it by controlling the language. If you control what someone says, over time, you'll control what they think. You don't think what you don't say. It's very hard to live a life for 8 years, if you're lucky, and think things and never say them ever.
Yeah.
If you think it, you're going to say it sometimes. You're going to give the idea, get some feedback on the idea, build on the idea, change the idea, whatever it is, through discussion.
So when they ban a word or something, I'm trying to think. Like, when you say a word, you're thinking about that thing or something related to that thing before you say it, right? So when they ban a word, they are now nipping you over there in the head from, like they're nipping at your thoughts from the other side.
Yeah.
You know, like you can't say this, and they will have some bullshit excuse. Somebody's grandma will cry if you say it. They come up with an excuse that you can't say this, and from there they're actually affecting your mind, you know, your thoughts. Eventually, if they ban a lot of words, they're banning a lot of your, you know, inner thoughts and shit.
If you never, ever, ever discuss it, you're not going to think it. So they say, this is the truth, ignore your eyes, and you have to say it's the truth. You can't say it's not the truth. And the people who are in charge of the world, they think generationally. They have time. Right now, it's a joke. 200 years from now, it won't be a joke. 200 years from now, it'll all be fucking standard operating protocol. The grandchildren, the people who are in charge now, that's what they want. They'll pull it off in the end. Slow, incremental damage.
Boiling frog.
They do it with nearly everything. They'll take all your rights away. They'll take 100 of your rights away. They'll upset you. They'll give you 99 back. We're good again. Don't worry. And the grandchildren of the people in charge of the world get what they want in the end. They think generationally. So now we're at the beginning of it. It's all a big joke, right? But especially before Elon had Twitter, when you couldn't say the truth online, when you couldn't say my eyes see X on the internet without going to jail or losing your account, or getting a hate speech charge in the UK or some garbage, they're controlling what you think. And on a long enough time frame, what you think becomes true. We all believe 2 + 2 is 4. But with a hard enough psyop, if you can't say that, if you have to say it's 5, on a long enough time frame, math breaks down and everyone's just going to believe that 2 + 2 = 5. That's what happens.
You think we're going to get there?
Have you ever seen the experiment? There's a really interesting experiment with monkeys and a banana and a water spout. Have you ever seen this? They put 5 monkeys in a room. And at the top of the room, there was a banana. And when one monkey tried to climb up to get the banana, they turn on the hose and splash all the monkeys with ice cold water. So the monkey would come back down and wouldn't get the banana. And when another monkey would go to climb up, they'd splash all the monkeys with ice cold water. And what would happen over time is, when a monkey went to climb the rope to get the banana, the other monkeys would jump and pull him down and hit him and teach him a lesson. Don't go for that banana. If you go for that banana, we get splashed with water. Then they'd swap one of the monkeys out. Now there's a new monkey in the room who doesn't know the game. The new monkey would attempt to climb, and all 4 monkeys would attack the monkey, pull him back down and kick his ass. He knows if he climbs the rope to get the banana, he gets attacked. He doesn't know he gets splashed with water if he gets the banana. He doesn't know the game, but he knows if I try and climb, they're going to attack me. After a certain amount of weeks, they change another monkey, and another monkey, and another monkey. Over time, you have 5 brand new monkeys who have never been splashed with water ever. But nobody goes to climb the rope, because if they do, they're attacked by all the other monkeys. And nobody even knows why.
Damn.
That's just how it works. If you climb that rope, they beat you up.
Didn't they do something similar regarding the C-19? Like, a lot of the C-19 sheep who were wearing the mouth diapers and had all the jabs and all that shit, they were saying to the non-jabbers and non-mouth diaper people, like, you're ruining it for the rest of us. You're prolonging our,
Yeah.
It's gonna take a longer time before we get freedom. Because of you, asshole. You're not wearing your mouth diaper. You're not taking the jab. It feels like they did some similar kind of a thing on the C-19 sheeple. Like, they made it look like the non-jabbers and the non-mouth diapers people are the reason while they are living in this restricted lockdown thing. You know what I mean? Instead of having the C-19 sheeple look at them as the real reason for why they're living in these restrictions. Just thought about it.
That's what they're doing on a long enough time scale to humanity. There are already X amount of people on the planet. There's already a population, X%, who knows what it is, who ignore their own eyes and repeat what they are told. You can't say that that's not what they're doing, because they're already successful with X amount of the population. They've begun. The seed is there. 2%, 3%, 7%, who knows? They've already proven they can do it. Now it's just a matter of not shutting up and hammering at home. Make sure
and censoring people who tries to oppose it.
Repeat it in schools. Children are young. They believe things. They're impressionable. Hammer it to the kids, especially. Put it in every Disney movie. Give it to the kids all day long. They grow up sooner or later. Long enough time frame. That's it. It's generational attacks.
But do you think that's going to work, though? Because let me maybe unpack the question. So I'm from Glendale. I went to Glendale High School. And the lawyer, right? So yesterday, a big fight broke out in Glendale. Massive. It's all over the news. Yep. So the fight was over these parents, Armenian parents, who were for 4 years are like, listen, we don't mind if you're gay, but don't teach our 4-year-olds about transgender. Yep. Don't put these books in. Exactly. Finally, yesterday, big old brawl. Yep. It's all over the news. They're fighting. Armenian parents are like, we're not going to tolerate this. Yep. This is just not going to happen to us, right? Then you go to YouTube. YouTube comes back and says, hey, starting such and such, all the videos that were put up about, the election and, whether it was a fake election or not, we're no longer going to give a strike or take those videos down. Yep. They can stay up there, right? This is totally fine. Then you see the Surgeon General comes out, the attorney, I don't know if you saw this one here, he comes out with an article saying new Surgeon General advisory raises alarm about the devastating impact of the epidemic of loneliness and isolation in the United States. This is the same guy that was part of the camp, is now saying, hey, our epidemic of loneliness and isolation has been an underappreciated public health crisis that has harmed individuals and social health, our relationship, our source of healing, et cetera. This is the same guy that said, wait a minute, lockdown, do this, do that. Yeah. So the more and more arguments are coming out against even ESG. I don't know how closely you follow ESG, where, why are we doing this? Did you see how much Target lost? $10 billion? Did you see how much Bud Light lost? 25%, 12%?
So ESG is this agenda to make all these companies do the LGB whatever thing. You got to ask yourself, what are they after? Do these people on top of these corporations or whatever, do they really care about gay or trans people?
No.
Or is there something bigger at play here? You know what I mean? What's you doing here? You know what I mean? You don't even do that for black people or for women or whatever. Why this thing that is such a small percentage of the population? Is it satanic? Is it? Yes, it is. Yes.
This is no longer working. Well, if you want to, like even one of the insurance companies I work with closely, it's one of our biggest one we work with. Yesterday, I see their post on Instagram. Well, because of Pride Month, we're doing this. I know the people in that company, but they just raised a few $100 million. One of the companies they gave the money to was one of these bigger guys, the Vanguard.
And why are you proud of it? You know?
What do you mean?
Like if I was gay, I would be gay, you know, but I wouldn't be proud of it. Why would I be proud of being gay?
Are you not proud of being straight?
I'm not proud of being straight. I'm just
I'm
just like, whew, nice that I'm straight, you know.
Yeah.
That's how I'm supposed to be, you know. I could have. It's like, whew, I got 2 arms.
Yeah.
I could have been one of those without one of my arms.
Yeah.
Because nature has made it so that being straight is natural.
Yeah.
So if you're not straight, there's something wrong. Let's not beat around the bush. There is something wrong. And it's not me who says it, it's nature. Because obviously, nature wants you to procreate. So if I was gay, yes, I would be gay. But I wouldn't be proud of it. I would be like, it sucks. I wouldn't want to be straight, but, you know, I'm gay now. I'm going to fuck that dude, you know. But I wouldn't be proud of it. Yes, this is what I wanted. What? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Shit doesn't make sense.
Or BlackRock and State Street. Yep. So when you take money from those guys, you have to have a certain ESG score. Yep. But a lot of people are now saying this is not a proven formula that it works. Stop doing it. So do you think guys like you, who are maybe in business, who are maybe in church, they're saying, Pope, what are you doing? What are you talking about? Who are maybe in the Christian church, who are maybe in different denominations. Yeah. They're in the military, sitting back saying, I didn't sign up for this. Yeah. So meaning successfully, do you think these guys will be able to manipulate their agendas down everybody's throat, or there's going to be certain people standing up?
Well, certainly I'd like to believe that the tide is shifting and we're starting to get some degree of victory against the matrix as a whole. I do believe that the public sentiment is shifting. However, the fight is long and it's very, very difficult because I agree with what you're saying. Only a year ago, I would argue it completely and say it's basically over. I'm actually very impressed with the ground we've taken back with common sense. But these people operate so slowly. It's generational, these attacks. The attacks we're suffering now were started in the 70s and 80s. They take it over time. And yes, it's fantastic that those parents fought back against that school. That's fantastic. But there's a whole bunch of schools where they didn't. And who knows, okay, that particular book might be removed. A softer version will be implemented. Next year, maybe that book will come back. They have all the time in the world, all the money in the world. And they're insulated from these things. That's what's most scary. You talk about Vanguard and BlackRock and all these companies. What's actually scary about it is the people who are making these decisions are completely insulated from the consequences of their decisions. They're in Switzerland. They fly private. They don't care. You think they care about any of this crap? They'll say, oh, do this. Oh, it's caused a riot. They don't live there. They're nowhere near it. They have nothing to do with it. When is the last time you've even seen a politician? Do these people even exist? They have nothing to do with where they operate. It's actually amazing. When I was in Dubai once, I think it was about 3 years ago, I saw the leader of Dubai walking through the mall. I was like, he's a person and he just walks through the mall. I was so impressed. Imagine a Western leader walking through the mall. Never in a million years. It's just pieces of paper, private jet, vanish. All these people who are in charge of everything don't even live in these communities. I do believe that, yes, we can win, because I don't think you can fight to the best of your ability if all hope is lost. I do believe we're winning and taking ground back, absolutely. And I believe that we're doing that by purely telling the truth. What our eyes see is what's real. And we're doing it in the name of God, because you're saying Armenians are strictly religious. I think God...
Even if we wouldn't win, I still think you're doing a win for God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And really, that's all that matters at the end of it. You know what I mean?
Religion is one of the best ways you can combat these things. However, the fight is never ending, because they're never ending going to try and implement. You talk about ESG scores. It's garbage they put together. That's not going to end. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse over time. And it's kind of unfortunate and it's kind of upsetting that we still have this system where the people can be unhappy with something. The peasants can revolt to a degree. But does it even really matter at some point? You get to a point of power where you don't care about money. And then things are really difficult, right? When you control everything, you don't care about money. I mean, I'd like to actually argue. We talk about Bud Light. This Mulaney, whatever is it?
Dylan Mulvaney.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dylan Mulvaney.
Sweetheart, yeah.
And yeah, I know we've damaged their share price, et cetera, et cetera. I would believe people who own that company or beyond that company, I don't think they truly give a fuck.
InBev.
I don't think they care. Maybe they care a bit. I don't think they're losing that much sleep over it. Maybe they are, a little bit. But I'm saying you get to degrees of power and levels of power where you don't care about money. I'll give you a perfect example of it.
I've heard that they're doing that to the American companies
I know.
to
hurt the working class, the people that actually
destroy the American brands, and then get a lot of those people laid off, so they become poor.
to go on food stamps and
And I don't remember who said it, but it was like, the less American things there are, the easier it will be to let go of
the idea.
nationality. You know what I mean? So they kind of know what they're doing with this thing. They know that people are gonna
Also,
get
they
pissed.
are taking away like the big sport events. You know, people used to love that. It used to be such a huge celebration.
Yeah, they're destroying
Yeah.
sports too. Yeah, in a way. Even though I'm not a big
Brands,
sport fan, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I know we keep going back to this, but it was actually a massive pivotal event in awakening so many people was a COVID scam. I said this multiple times in many different countries I visited. I said, if they cared about you, they would have left everything open, maybe put a tax on everything, extra tax percent, whatever, and build hospitals. Why didn't they do that? Why didn't
Yes!
they do that?
Exactly.
You know, they kept talking about the hospitals. We don't have hospitals.
And then they, here in Stockholm, but in New York also, they built like a temporary hospital.
Yes.
And it was empty.
Nobody used it.
No.
It kind of reminds me of when Trump sent that
Big
big
ship,
ass
yeah, the
big
big
ship to New York or something. And that guy, what was his name? The mayor, Cuomo. He asked for it or something, and then he didn't use it.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. If that's all it was, just build more hospitals, man. How many buildings are they just building in a couple of months? You know, build more hospitals, and then we're cool. You know, it's not about hospitals. It's just bullshit. It's just bullshit,
Compliance
man.
exercise. They want you to comply. They don't give a shit about your health. They just want you to
Everything's
comply. They want to test how many people comply.
Yeah.
People were saying, yeah, it's all about money, it's all about profit. And I said, that's actually a very optimistic way to look at it. I think that if you destroy the economy and lock everyone in their houses and destroy everyone's businesses, you don't care about money. You're beyond money. You're above money. You want power.
I've
you want
always
control.
said that. Like from the beginning, since I became awake, I realized that money has nothing to do with it for them. For us, it's huge for them. For us, they need us to be dependent on money.
Yeah.
We are dependent on money.
They are not.
They are not. That's the
Yeah.
important, and that is why, because we are dependent on money, we think that they
they
also
are too.
have to.
Yeah.
It's like with the
And
God
they-
thing. You know, you don't really know what God is, you know? It's the same with these people. You don't really know what they are,
Yeah.
in which realm they work.
Yeah.
Money is nothing for them.
But they want you to think that it's all about money,
Yeah.
because then you won't figure out the real
Yeah.
agenda. Oh, they just want money.
Exactly. It's easy for them to make it look like it's all about money.
Yeah.
But it has nothing to do with money. And that is really important that people start to realize.
Yeah.
We shouldn't even use money. I understand what Tate says, when he says he could buy his, freedom or buy away some of the problems. Absolutely, I agree with that. Like we are okay. I don't need to go on the bus. I said it the other day. Oh fuck! It's so nice that I don't need to go on the bus because we have a car. But hear me out. Fuck, man. So I get it that we need money in this system, but for us to be completely free from the rulers, we need to be free from money. I think that by saying that, I'm not saying that some people should not be rich, or that we should not have money, but money should work, in a different type of way. It shouldn't be controlled, like you say. We don't need banks.
Yeah.
In the way that we have money now. Like before, everyone had like a bit of money, but we also, like the normal people, were dependent on what is my trade. What can I do?
What can I trade with you and you trade with me, whatever.
Mm.
But that's why they don't educate people on money because
Exactly.
they
Yeah,
want
at
you
least
to
do
be like,
that.
oh, I don't understand these
Yeah.
things, so let the
Taxes and,
so let these bankers
and
rule
also
us.
and also they make it more complicated, especially here. Like if you're gonna do your own business, we looked into this. We're
Yeah,
like,
make it really hard.
Fuck, man.
They make it really hard to make your own business.
And here in Sweden, it's insane. It's insane. You need 10 years of school to just open a food truck.
Yeah.
And that is not only the money, that is, fuck it. But you know what I mean.
Because once you become actually rich, you learn that the world is all just about people. Right? The best things in your life are people. The best things in your life are family. The things that make you happiest are your friends. Your life experience is the best if you have good team around you, good assistants, good helpers, good staff, whatever it is. It's all about people and controlling people.
Yes.
What do you want money for? To get other people to do what you want. That's all money is. I want a Lamborghini. I can't build one. He can. I will pay him to build me a Lamborghini. It's all about people. So once you get beyond a certain level of money, and there's a certain level of control you want that money perhaps can't buy, then you think, well, I don't care about the money. I want the power. I don't want money. I want them to stay in their houses. Why? Because it's so. I don't have to. They have to. Ha ha.
Stay in their houses.
And I've sat with people and said, do you really think people in charge of the world are so petty that they would lock everyone in their houses so they can laugh? I said, yeah, I actually do. I think if you were born into a wealthy family where money has precisely zero value, and you are arrogant to the moon because you're this whoever, and you believe you're God's gift, and you don't, a Ferrari ain't gonna make you happy. Who cares about Ferrari? Ferrari's free. It's pennies. You don't care about any of this shit. What makes you happy is everyone respecting you and being afraid of you. Yeah. To a degree, you're gonna try and influence some power and fear. I think that's what it is. So I think a lot of these companies, when they're doing these things and they're upsetting people, etc., yeah, it's good that we're fighting back, but I also think part of them enjoy the show. I think part of them genuinely enjoy the show. I think part of them go, you know what? Let's do, this is insane. Let's do this. They're fighting. I really believe, I know it's a pessimistic way to look at it, but I think they enjoy the show part.
I don't disagree with you in regards to that. I can see that how, you see it in movies or scenes where, condescending, arrogant, and they kind of want to, they enjoy bullying the guy that can't help himself, right? Hey, do this, hey, clean up, pick this up, look at this. He'll do anything that I need him to do, right? I fully believe that those types of things exist. But, and empires have fallen so many times because they thought they can get away with murder. And then eventually people said, listen, stop. You're not going to do this to me anymore. We're not going to take a stand. And typically when that happens, you said it earlier, what is really what's going on in Glendale or some of these other cities that people are protesting? Why is there an organization called Gays Against Groomers? Gays Against Groomers? What? What do you do? He says, man, I just wanted to be gay and leave me alone. I'm not trying to be, grooming kids. That's not my job. I just want to be gay. Leave me alone. We've made so much progress. These guys, I'm not that guy. I'm not this person, right? So I think the part that they fear the most. If you read Communist Manifesto, there's a book written by Cleon Skousen. I think he was like a former CIA agent for like 15 years. He wrote a book called The Naked Communist. One of the things he talks about how getting rid of God, well, they're succeeding in that area, but not fully yet. Getting rid of the family nucleus, well, we already know what is the purpose of this LGBTQ movement? What is the purpose of this transgender? What is the purpose of, let me get this straight, this person cannot buy a gun at 13. This person cannot go in the military at 13. This person cannot vote at 18. This person cannot own a car at 13, but they can transition
they can chop their dick off. Yeah. That's it. That's permanent. But again, he said, take out God. It's one of the key things, really, because God, or the creator, if you learn that the creator actually exists and there is nothing above this creator, there will be no government that will be above that for you. You know what I mean? You won't put a government above the creator. That will not happen. Therefore, they need to take away the creator so that the government becomes the creator. You know what I mean?
Most important decision of their lives you're okay with? Yes. Now, that doesn't make sense to me. I think you said something at the beginning, the concept of being tolerant. You know what? Yeah, it's okay. We can have gays. Oh, it's okay. We can have this. It's okay. Listen, man. You've crossed the line a little bit. I think faith, family, kids, values, principles, they fear the hell out of it. Absolutely. And I think that community is rising up.
No, you're totally right. But you made a really interesting point there about empires falling, and this is where I kind of feel like we're entering a new stage of the world because it's never really done before. Because typically when empires fell, the world was far more polarized. If the empire fell, there was nowhere for the corrupt dictators of said empire to go. The empire's fallen, or let's say England fell. It's very hard to get exile in France. You could do it a little bit. But let's say America fell today. Let's say it completely collapsed and it fell. The people who archetyped that downfall, do you think they'd be America? Do you think they'd be sitting there waiting to get scooped up? Do you know who they are? Can you recognize them? What's their name? Even if you could, do you think they're in America or do you think they're skiing in Switzerland? This globalism, the whole point of globalism is that they don't care when empires fall. When you globalize, so
What if? Now I know a lot of people don't believe in plain Earth, but what if the elites, they're not even on this world.
Right.
They're outside the
As I
ice.
said, we don't even know which realm they work in.
Yeah. Because they can just be remotely doing their shit. They're not even on any of these continents. They're in another world.
In the Matrix.
They're in another, place where there are other continents and shit like that. And they're just doing their orders into this world. Who knows,
the
man?
world. Then you have a chessboard.
Or they might be on the ground. Who fucking
I
knows?
lost the knight. Doesn't matter. Fuck the bishop. Sack the queen. Who cares? There's so many things I want to say, but I don't want to die. But there's truth. This can be proven and shown even with this current proxy war. Europe and all the gas prices and the inflation rate in Europe has gone to the moon to fund this proxy war in Ukraine. Why has this happened? Because America's in charge of everything, and America has decided that Europe has to bear the brunt of the bullshit for its proxy war. You're going to have higher gas prices, you're going to have inflation, you're going to have massive unrest, you're going to deal with it all. And we're going to sit over here and insulate ourselves because we have the global reserve currency, and the war is going to happen over there, and everyone's going to die, and we're in charge. So now we have this globalism. How can an empire fall when you have basically two camps? There's two teams now. There's two sides left. So I agree with you completely about empires falling, but I'm saying if the empires fell in days of old, the kings would be strung up. Yeah. But now when the empire falls, nobody notices. It doesn't matter. We don't know who the kings are. We don't know who's in charge. We don't know where they are. They're not going to be anywhere near the trouble. That's for
It's
fucking
not
sure.
Biden.
There's going to be someone.
It's definitely not Biden.
They're gonna if America falls and they're gonna say it was Biden's fault, we're gonna hang him on the square. Everyone would be like, the Wake one would be like, whatever, hang the doll. We don't give a shit. We want the real guys. No one. Everyone knows he's not in charge, but he's the face out.
And this is what's disgusting with the left. Even they know that Biden isn't in charge.
I know. I know.
They know it because
everyone knows.
he's demented, okay? But they don't care. They don't care that they know that their president is a puppet. Like, it's official.
Yeah.
It's not even a conspiracy. They know
they
he's a
accept
puppet. They don't care. Yet they want to go at Trump for these allegations. Oh, he's selling out the country. Motherfucker, there are people behind the scenes running your supposed president, and you don't care about that. Lefties are, they're just garbage, okay?
Somewhere else. Oops. Oh well. And do they really care? Do the people in charge of the world care if America's crime rate goes up 1,000%? Would they lose sleep at
I
night?
actually think they do partially. Because think about it. So I'm with Andrew Schultz, and I'm taking your position with him.
Yep.
Okay, you know who Andrew Schultz
Yep.
is? Good guy. And he says, part of me that gives me comfort is knowing these guys are so obsessed with their money. He may be wrong. Listen, we can debate this.
Yep.
They're so obsessed with their money that there's no way they're going to let America fall. Because if America falls, everything else falls. So they're going to go.
What? That's, I don't agree with that at all.
No.
That's what they're doing right now. They're trying to crash the country. They try to take America down. That's the biggest goal they have. Because after that, they can enslave the whole world. They need to get America down first. I don't agree with
Just
that.
as much as they can to control, but not enough to get the machine to break because they're so in love with money and power, they don't want to give that up.
Well, I hope that's true. I would love for that to be true. But my argument is that these people are already so deeply entrenched, they print the money. They'll print the new money. They don't care. If they cared about money, COVID wouldn't have happened. They closed the entire economy. I don't think they care about money. I think they control the world to a level where you want to eat? Do you want war? Like, I don't think they give a shit about money. They'll print the new money. They'll change the name of it and print the new one. At a certain level of power, I think they're so above and beyond all of our concepts of how the world works. So they don't have any interest in any of it.
And that is what it is. Knowledge is power, kind of a thing. We lack the knowledge to, I don't know, make our own water or whatever
Make our own water.
You know what I mean? Whatever we need to make our own water or make our own energy, whatever. We lack the knowledge. And also we lack the manpower. You know what I mean? Like, they make sure that we lack these knowledges. You know what I mean? This knowledge.
I don't think they give a shit. I think if you were to go to these people
So we can be
and say,
dependent.
we're going to take your money away, they would just laugh at you. You think you can take my money? You think you understand money? You think you're going to damage the stock market? You think I give a shit about share price? I think there's a level beyond all of this. And they're the ones who truly are running things, and they truly have no influence. And in fact, the harder they damage the economy and the more damage they do to money, the more people are dependent on governments to eat. That's where communism comes from, right? The more poor we get, the more you need the government just so you have food in your mouth. How can you resist the government if they feed you? You can't. So yeah, and I sound pessimistic, and I'm not pessimistic. And I do believe the answer to all of these things is free thinking and truth and God and communities standing up for themselves and changing the general consensus. I do believe that. Because to a degree, although we talk about people who run the world, to a degree we run the world. Because our tolerance level is what runs the world. There's more of us than them. So to a degree you say, who's in charge of the world? Well, I like to say, well, we are. Because it's all about, we're the abused wife in this relationship. How much crap are we going to put up with? We set the limit. They're going to come at us with everything they can, right?
But it looks like people are starting to get, pissed about this whole pride thing, targeting the children. People are speaking up against it. It looks like that. But also one thing, he said we're more. There's more of us than there's more of them. Is that why they're trying to reduce the population as well? You know what I mean? Let's reduce this shit.
We set the limit. But the problem is they try very, very hard to, one, increase our limit to the max, which is tolerance, and two, to divide us to the point where we don't ever unite long enough. I love what happened in Glendale, what you just told me about. That should be happening in every single school across America, all of them.
Oh, they would love it if you retweet the video for them and give more exposure.
I will do.
When you're saying this, I'm reading a book right now, Robert Moses. I don't know if you know who he is or not, Power Broker. This is a guy, it would be a very interesting guy for you to study. This is the guy that built New York, okay? And he came up and hated, complicated person, misunderstood. The more they would push him back, the more he stood up. The more they would say, no, this is not fair what you're doing, the more he would even say, I'm going to go even more extreme. And so if in New York you mention the name Robert Moses, there's going to be a camp that's going to say scumbag, racist, white supremacist, all this stuff. And there's a side that's going to say, this guy built a bridge, this guy did this guy did that. He would make it so hard for a certain community to go to the nicer community. He would put the bridge so low that trucks couldn't go through because he didn't want the bad people to go into this. Like he was that sharp. And one time in the book, they talk about how Robert Moses, he says, look, the one thing about Robert Moses, he could give a shit about money. He could give a shit about, it was all about his influence over. So I agree, there's certain people that don't care about money. They're more driven by control, influence, all of that. The part that, we're talking about the movie Fury, Vinny, and you give me this whole thing about Fury, the scene where Shia LaBeouf is reading out of the Bible and he's crying while he's reading this. And then, if you want to text me and then afterwards, you see Brad Pitt quotes exactly what scripture it was, but they never showed how much faith he had. And the whole point was, I'm ready to die. We know we're here. This is going to be happening. We're in the attack. I think the people, there's a part about Trump. I had a girl on Whitney Webb. I don't know if you know who Whitney Webb is. We had her on. Okay. Yeah. And we start talking about different things. And I've been having a lot of weird guests on lately and making a comparison between the Kennedy family and Trump. Pisses a lot of people off. But those two families, forget the fact that one's a Democrat, one's a Republican. They were both anti-establishment. They were both anti-military industrial complex. They were both anti-CIA, anti-FBI, anti all of this stuff, right? We saw what happened with Kennedy. We saw what happened with Reagan. We saw what happened with Lincoln. All these guys were anti-establishment guys. We saw what happened with Trump. The part about Trump that, made the other side uncomfortable is, okay, we can kill the guy. That's been the strategy for a long time. You can't really do it today as much because they fear one thing that they're the most jealous and envy. You know what that is? They do not want to build a martyr. They fear building a martyr because that's the ultimate high that they want to get. They do not want to build a martyr, right? So, okay, we're going to humiliate the crap out of you. We're going to embarrass the crap out of you. We're going to publicly try to do this. We're going to come in between you and your kids. We're going to go get your daughter to be more LGBT. We're going to get her to be on this side. And we're going to pin this. That's the strategy. We're going to put the break the entire family apart, right? And he still stands up there. And to them, it's like, what the hell do we need to do for you to, just sit down and be quiet, not willing to do it?
That's right.
Do you think? And Andrew is top G. I say Trump is head G. He is the head G. That's one step above top G. It's the head.
I think, again, going back to it, more of those types of men and women who are misunderstood in complicated stories. They're not perfect, far from it. More of those guys are the ones that are saying, yeah, it's just not going to happen on my watch, man.
And that's what we need. And by the very nature of being the kind of person who's principled enough to risk his own personal situation in life, if you have principles that strong, you're going to be disliked by some people. You're never going to have a person who is principled enough to take risk to his public detriment for the good of what he believes in, who's liked by everybody. That's a logic fail, right? Because he has principles which are hard lines, and people exist across the entire spectrum. So there's going to be people who exist outside of those lines.
This is what he's talking about, like what we talked about with the Swedish people not daring to have an opinion about anything because they want to be liked by everybody. Essentially, that's what they're trying to do. But really, it's just fear, isn't it? It's fear. Because there are things that they like more than other things, but they don't dare to say it because of fear, right?
That's what I liked about Trump. He's not perfect, of course not, but he says what he means what he says. I actually disagree with him on many things. But he says what he means what he says, and that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of a man who says what he means and means what he says, but he can't be bought, because he's principled. He can't be bought. Even now, me, if they were to come to me with $100 million and say, we'll sponsor you with this company, it's $100 million, you just have to shut up, I'd say, no, I don't want money. I don't want the money. I don't need money. There's nothing else to buy. I've bought everything. I don't need it. My principle's worth more. So, and that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of principles, and it goes back to the original point. They're trying to remove all of our morality, all of our baseline understanding of things.
Connect is an application which allows you to take a minute to connect with influencers from all around the world. My name is Andrew Tate, and I'm available to speak directly to you on Minect.
That's how they inject you with the slave mind. That's exactly what it is, and you're right. History has always been that way. And now it's under conscious assault. I've never said this before. I've never even thought this before. This is a brand new thought for me. But I would like to think in times of old, in history, perhaps everybody was the same. Everybody was principled. Everybody had parameters, but they were different parameters. Perhaps they were competing ideas. But I think in the modern world, it's not so much competing parameters. It's just people who believe in things. People who don't believe in anything besides what they're fucking told. And it changes every day. You have the empty brains, the slave minds, and the people who actually stand up for something. And the free thinkers. But the slave minds, you can't say, well, they believe in a different ideology, because they don't. They believe in what they're told to believe in on that particular day. It changes. They don't have any true core belief. They just repeat. I talk about the Matrix all the time, and people say, why did you choose that terminology? And I chose that terminology because it is perfectly accurate in describing...
But that goes to the thought about maybe not everybody has a soul, or whatever that is. You know what I mean? Because what kind of a person are you that is so programmable?
Can you be conscious without a soul?
Maybe. Fuck, I don't know. You know? We don't know a fraction of this reality. You know what I mean? Like, what this reality really is about. You know what I mean? Like, I just heard from my brother in Iran that he met a guy, an old man, who he's like a farmer or whatever in Iran. And he has been successful in connecting different different fruits to one tree. Like apples and pears and oranges, I don't know what, and also different types of fruits. Yeah. He said something about that you could take an apple tree and if you cut the branch off in a certain way and you connect it somehow to the tree, and in a year or two the tree will merge with that, and eventually a different type of fruit will come out from the same fucking tree. Like, I'm just saying, there's so much things we don't know about this place.
Yeah, I know.
So there might be...
How it works, yeah.
Yeah, so there might be people that are functioning, and they can speak and move and shit, but they might not have a soul.
Exactly what is happening.
Or whatever.
The Matrix is a computer program which is designed to control your mind so that your body can be used to power the machines. That's exactly what happens when they make you watch the news. To control your minds, you continue to use your body to work some garbage job and suffer from inflation and power the machines. Machines being soulless people who are in charge of the world. But there's also a million other different ways you can compare the Matrix to the real world. In the Matrix, they say anybody can become an agent at any time. If their mind is not unplugged, they become an agent. If their mind is not freed, they turn into an agent. You can see that in real life. Mention COVID to an NPC. Yeah. Mention Trump to an NPC. You can sit and have a perfectly cordial, normal conversation with someone for an hour and be fine. And you can mention one of the particular subjects which they are programmed to hate by the Matrix itself, and they will turn into an agent in real time. And you will see them now start to genuinely, emotionally dislike.
You can see it in their faces or in their eyes. Something happens when they realize, like, oh, you're awake, or you're one of them.
Yeah.
And you see the transformation.
You become their enemy.
Yeah. A fraction of a second, as he says, might see that. You're like, oh.
It's like the movie They Live from the 80s.
Right.
We got one that sees. We got one that likes Trump. We got one that do not buy the C-19.
you as a person. They were your friend for an hour.
Yeah.
Now they hate you. They will turn into an agent. COVID was perfect. I would sit with people and we'd all be friends until I mentioned that COVID's garbage. And they would, now they're an agent. What do you mean COVID's garbage? My friend's grandma was 90. COVID's garbage. And they would, now they're an agent. What do you mean COVID's garbage? My friend's grandma was 99 and she got sick. Okay, sorry. That doesn't change my view. And they change. And the Matrix is actually a perfect, absolute explanation of what's happening. And Morpheus says it, if your mind's not freed, you can be one of them. And that's what's happening. And this is why we don't have competing sets of parameters which are trying to argue about which is the best way to run the world. We have people with parameters who believe in family and love and God and tradition and taking care of yourself and taking care of others. There's people with moral standard and there's people with none. Zero. Empty vessels, agents who are
lefties
programmed on any given day of what they're supposed to care about. These people can't tell me they care about things. That's what's most annoying about my position, because it's absolutely and utterly weaponized virtue they use against me. The people who hate me because, one, I truly believe, and I know this is arrogant to say, but I feel like I have to say it. There's definitely a massive jealousy implement. If I wasn't so tall and rich and good looking, it wouldn't be happening. They don't fucking like me. They don't like me because I remind them of the jock at school that took their girl.
No, but it's true. It's true.
Yeah. It's like mirroring back to them what they aren't. Like, they get pissed.
Right? They don't like me personally. So it's true. So they try and find an attack vector. And what happens when you have somebody who's monumentally successful across all realms of human endeavor? The only way you can attack them is by calling them a bad person. They can't call me stupid. They can't call me ugly. Can't call me broke. Can't call me weak. They can't call me any of these things. So how do we attack this guy? Well, he's a bad person. How do you call someone a bad person? You weaponize virtue. None of the people, who are pretending to give a shit about women and that I'm bad to protect women, have any interest in protecting women. None of these people think I better become physically strong to protect women. None of them even believe in protecting a woman in a physical scenario.
Because if they cared about women, this whole tea people thing would not be growing.
Exactly.
Because the tea people are reducing what women is to a wig, makeup, and a dress. You know, that's what they're doing. So if you really cared
as you
about,
said, a woman is a man in a dress.
yeah, that's what
They
it
think
is
this,
today.
yeah.
A woman is a man in a dress. Yeah.
None of them even believe in protecting their family. None of them donate to any charities that involve women, nothing. They're just taking the virtue and weaponizing it and attacking me with it. Me as a person who donates $25 million a year to charity to feed both male and female children. Me as a person who believes I have a responsibility to be physically capable so that any woman I'm walking down the street with is safe. I do more for women than any of these clowns would ever do. But they're just weaponizing virtue and attacking me with it. It's not even genuine virtue. That's what's so upsetting about it. These people, the matrix-minded people, have so few parameters and so few virtue. Whenever there's virtue inside of them, it's only so they can take it, weaponize it, and fire it at you. They don't give a shit about any of the issues they talk about. They don't care about race. They don't care about women. They don't care about gays. None of it. They take it, they put it in a bullet, and they shoot it at the people they don't like. It's all fake. All of it.
When you were talking about this, I wrote all these things down that we're talking about. Principal virtues, God, parents, true believers, fighters, traditions. These people they fear, right? All these people they fear. And these guys are slowly but surely starting to stand up. The scene we're talking about with Shia LaBeouf, he says, what we're doing here is a righteous act. Here's a Bible verse I think about sometimes, many times. This is his words. It goes, and I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send and who will go for us? And he began crying and said, here I am, send me. Brad Pitt turns around and says, Book of Isaiah chapter 6. For me, you know, in business, I asked this question the other day. I'm so curious to get your thoughts on this. For the longest time, when I got into business, I was, a younger guy, 21. I'm like, okay, very coachable. Tell me what do I got to do. I'm a coachable guy. What do I got to do? I'm a coachable guy. Super coachable. I want to make money. I'm sick and tired of being broke. My dad's at the 99 cents store. Too many heart attacks. I want to get out of this. Yep. So I'm like, hey, Patrick, basic stuff. When you're doing business and you're talking to rich people, I'm Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. Never talk religion. Never talk politics. Never talk sex. Just don't talk about those three things. I said, okay, guess what? Never talk politics, never talk religion, never talk sex. No problem. We're going to business. So what do you think about the political climate today, Patrick, David? Oh, what do you think? Yeah. Well, I think this is, but what do you think, Patrick? I don't know, quite frankly, I think I'm trying to figure it out for myself right now, but we'll see what's going to happen, whatever way you're deflecting and you kind of go on your phone. Hey, what do you think about God? What is your opinion on Islam or Muslim? Yeah. Well, for me, you deflect that. Eventually you're sitting there, you're like, the people that I know at that level want to talk about those three topics. Yep. Now, sex is maybe off camera and they're kind of having fun with it, but they want to talk about politics and religion. Yep. So we, for the longest time, have been silenced, and now the ESG community, all this time they've told us to stay quiet, and they're saying what? They're talking politics, they're talking religion, and they're talking sex. Sex the way through LGBTQ, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with it? It's normal, it's normal, it's normal. No, it's not normal. Well, listen, you guys shouldn't talk about politics and sex and religion, shouldn't be doing that. And then you see this one, during COVID, one pastor Australia, Syrian man. I don't know what his name is, Benny. What's his name? The Syrian pastor, priest from Australia. And he was fighting all the anti-COVID guidelines, and his stuff is going viral. He's doing this. And you've seen these messages. Some of the people that stood up, they stood up because they feared God, okay? And for you, with your life, it's been interesting watching you go through your evolution of your faith. Pre-2022, former atheist, a couple of the things you've said in the past, God isn't real because you can't prove it. Okay, kind of like that was more the Malcolm X argument, right? Bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people far too often for God to exist. I'm the center of my universe. That's pre-2020. Then gradually you start talking about Christianity and, you know, in 2020 you made a video announcing that you were wrong about what you had said previously about God, right? Now you start saying people are who are atheists are angry, bad energy people, and I don't want to be on that team anymore. And even if God is not real, the world is a better place if people do believe in God. I know God is real because there's so much evil in the world that there has to be an equal and opposite force. The devil can't exist if God does not. And if you look at the world today, it is very obvious that the devil does not exist. And I'll go to the last one here with Muslim. Quotes from you. Christians don't have a religion anymore because they tolerate everything and stand for nothing. And by the way, I actually agree with you, the fact that they're tolerating way too much. Islam is the last religion on the planet. God is something to be feared, respected, and to prove yourself to, which means you got to earn his right. It's a, hey, I want to earn your right and your respect, right? How did you go, if you don't mind talking about your own evolution? Because us as men, if you knew me at 25 years old, you probably would have liked to party with me. I was a selfish guy. I was a guy you would have thought I was, right? And we go through this phase of where the selfishness kind of comes down a little bit. You still need to be selfish because you need to be driven, but to the point where you're like, listen, man, I got to really do something. And then somehow, some way, God enters.
And you know, I have to stop there. You know, Christianity is super true. They tolerate almost everything, right?
Yeah, I saw a pastor on Twitter the other day saying, God is queer. And everyone was, yay!
Out there, whatever that was. But what's the difference then between that and what the Satanists are doing? You know, they're open for all kinds of crazy shit. You know what I mean? So is then Christianity just a facade, or is it infiltrated? You know what I mean? Something is up with Christianity. You can't say it, but it's not.
I would say it like this. Christianity is definitely the most easiest religion to infiltrate. I would say.
It's because
it's based. Love. Yeah, it's based on love in the word. Like in the Bible, it's very focused on forgiveness, acceptance, love. He without sin cast his first stone. You turn your cheek. So it's easy to use that. Very easy to use that. You don't have the same, I believe, in Islam and in Judaism. It's not the same. It's not as easy to infiltrate. I'm not saying they're not infiltrated or has not been attempted to be infiltrated, but it's not as easy.
Yeah, I agree.
What's been your evolution of your faith, and where are you at today?
Yeah, I think Newton's...
and also, we need to remember, which we've discussed before, and that goes also for Islam. We have different branches of what you say with Islam. But in Christianity, you have so many different. It's not only like the Protestant, the Catholic, the Orthodox, and then you have Jehovah's, and then you have the Philadelphia, and you know, it goes on and on and on and on. It's like hundreds different, whereas some of them are, you know, more restrictive. The Jehovah's, they have more boundaries. They're very nice people, always kind, friendly, you know.
But they're a little bit stricter.
They have more boundaries than, let's say, the Swedish church.
Yeah.
But they might be infiltrated in another way, because Jehovah's is like the richest Christianity thing. Can I have some water?
Equal and opposite force, what you just said there is absolutely true. There has to be equal and opposite force to all the evil in the world. And that the equal and opposite force to all that evil has to be God. And I've talked about this at length even with atheists, and I try and say that regardless of whether you're an atheist or not, you're thinking of God as a man in the sky, but you need to think of God as a concept as a whole. And once you do that, it's impossible to accept that he doesn't exist, right? I said to the atheists, I said, let's say there was 2 islands. They're shipwrecked, right? And there's 2 islands. Both of them are full of savages. On one island, you and your friend are shipwrecked. On one island, your friend goes and he crashes and they kill him and they eat him. And you go to another island and they want to kill you and eat you, but they don't because it's against their religion. Did God save your life? Who cares? Who doesn't even know the name of their God? But their God said, don't kill shipwrecked survivors. And now you're alive. So their God saved your life. The concept of God in and of itself saved your life. You owe God just for the concept of it, the idea of it. So even the idea of opposing evil as a whole is a belief in God. So you're either an evil person or you believe in God in some regard. And then once I understood that there had to be an equal and opposite force, I was raised Christian. I live in a Christian nation. Romania is actually, I think, the second or third most Christian country on earth. It's a very Christian country here. It's churches everywhere. They strongly believe.
I think also one of the big things is when you saw that the elites were, up in the open with their Satanism.
Right.
You're like, what the fuck's going on, man? Okay, then there has to be a God. What the fuck? The evil ones are like, Satan. Like, okay.
Also, just a small thought. Satanism, don't you connect that more to Christianity, like anti-Christianity than anti-Muslim? Like when you think of Satanists, you see like upside down crosses and burning Bibles and stuff.
Yeah.
You associate Satanism more to Christianity than you do to Islam, right?
Yes.
And
but
why is that? Because Muslims believe in Satan, right?
Yes. But I talked with this cool guy the other day on a stream, Simply. He said something interesting. He said they attack Christianity on the, what was it? I'm trying to remember exactly. Like on the surface, but they attack Islam in another way that is not as evident. I don't remember exactly, but he made a good point that they attack Christianity in one way and they attack Islam in another way that isn't as
but with
evident.
Islam, it feels like they're not attacking. If I'm just gonna look like what we see in news, media, all around, it doesn't feel like they're attacking Islam as a religion, but as an idea. Like Muslim, the suicide bombers are Muslims. But it's not that. It's not the religion itself. It feels like Islam is an idea, a concept,
or a group of
a
people,
group or whatever. But it doesn't feel like they are directly talking about.
You mean they are not spiritually attacking?
Yeah, exactly.
They're
exactly.
spiritually attacking
Christianity,
but
they're more black. How you say black painting Islam? Like the people, the action they do, like they are standing up against their beliefs. Now, I say exactly as Andrew, you shouldn't kill people or bomb yourself or, But what has driven these people to do this? I'm not defending it.
Suicide bombers.
Yeah, for instance. I'm not defending it, but it has come to a point where someone feels like, all right, this is enough.
Yeah.
You're not gonna insult us anymore or use us or whatever. Just think how the Western world had absolutely trashed and used Muslim countries. Just look at Iraq, Syria.
Yeah, because they make it look like Muslims are like, just
Africa,
blowing themselves up without no reason.
Africa, look at Africa, so it's not, it comes 2-3 guys here with bombs, they blow themselves up, kill 40 people. But if you're gonna look at it in a perspective, we're like, okay, let's just look at this. How many people have suffered because of the Western world in Muslim countries?
Like the Iraq war, 1.6 million
Afghanistan,
Iraqis.
Should we just take a step back and look?
Yeah.
If we're just gonna compare, with the way
we are good people. We're white and good,
Yeah. I'm not saying.
I know.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Wasn't supposed to be this long, but
we do a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
And that's where I began my journey, but I always had a very healthy respect for Islam because I understand that to a degree, to have a religion at all, you have to have an intolerance to a degree.
Absolutely.
Because without an intolerance, you don't have rules, you don't have laws, you don't have any.
That's so fucking true.
Like you said, you have to earn God's respect. If you're a religion which is tolerant of everything, then you don't have to earn God's respect. You can be a bad person and do bad things. God loves me, so it's fine.
Even in a marriage, we have certain rules. Otherwise, there is no marriage, right?
Of course.
Why the fuck marry if you don't have some rules and restrictions or whatever you call it?
But
No,
it's
not.
also why, like he says, with he has a responsibility over his wife or girlfriend
Yeah.
or children, but with that also comes some authority.
Yeah.
It's the same with religion.
Yeah.
Because that's not the point of the religion. So then you extrapolate that out, and I was sitting and thinking, what's the primary function of a religion? And the primary function of a religion, I don't believe is the religion exists so I can live forever. I mean, that's a nice thought. But I think on a macro level, the primary objective of a religion is to restore and contain some degree of traditional value within the society. How do you judge, let me change the way I worded that. How do you judge the success of a religion? I don't think you can judge it by the number of people who join it, because there's lots of people who are Catholic who don't act Catholic. They don't act in any way particularly Christian. Anyone can say they're something. You can walk into a strip club and everyone says they're Christian. It doesn't mean anything, right? So how do you judge the success of a religion? Well, I like to think the best way to judge the success of a religion is how successful is it at fighting evil? How successful is it at preserving the morality of a population in X parameter? In X.
This is the thing I think is like with Christian people. Most of them, they just want to recruit people and then go sing in the church. And I'm not even Christian. But I think, even if you're not Christian or Muslim or whatever, if you're combating the bullshit Satan is doing, you're doing more than those Christians who just go to church and sing and have a nice time. How the fuck are you doing God's work by just going and singing in a church? You know what I mean? Doing God's work is to take Satan down or stop what Satan is doing.
Or at least, talk about it, spread the word,
Yeah,
promote it, show
yeah,
it,
yeah.
spread seeds.
Yeah, you can take, that's what I mean. You can take it down by exposing it. But if you just, I'm a Christian, I go and sing in the church and I'm covered, I'm going to heaven. Maybe you're not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do you know how God will, or the Creator will judge you? Because many of those people, they think they're safe, they're covered. I'm registered Christian and I mind my own business and I hope for the best for the world. That's not good enough, at least if you ask me.
No, it's not.
You have to do some shit. Otherwise,
And also,
like cancer, it will grow.
Yeah, no, and I don't know too much about, Christianity in depth, but it feels like almost all the religions, at least back in the day, and definitely with Islam, it was important to have to be honorable, to have honor. You defended your family, also because you not wanted the honor in a egotistic way, but honor was important.
Yeah.
It was important to do brave stuff, to protect, to defend,
Yeah.
to speak out what was right because of honor.
Yeah. And they're taking that away.
The religions were based on that. Where you went after you died in most, pagan religion depended on your honor.
Water?
You could go party with like Odin.
Party with Odin.
Yeah, if you died with honor. If you didn't die with honor, you went straight to hell.
Yeah.
An X geographical area. So when you look at it from that way, you can't say
And
that
that
Islam
is
isn't.
why people were not afraid of dying. And that is why also they take away God, because now all of a sudden people are afraid of dying. Before, when you believe, people believe, they didn't believe, they knew. They knew they were going to Odin or they were going to the paradise. They knew, they didn't believe, they knew. So death didn't scare them as long as they died with, a clean conscience or with honor or in battle. That's why men back in the days were so dangerous. They didn't give a shit because they knew that their god or their gods had their back.
Yeah.
They didn't believe they knew. For them,
Yeah, and that's why they want to turn everybody into an atheist.
Yeah. And now
This
people
is all
are
an
afraid,
accident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now people think that when I die, everything is gonna be dark and I'm just gonna float around.
Yeah, think about how stupid that is. You have to be conscious
Yeah.
to realize that you ended up in endless
Yeah.
nothingness. Like, oh shit, I'm in this darkness. Well, are you alive?
Yeah. Then you're alive.
I thought
Come
you
back
said
and-
when you die, you're no more.
It just gets dark. What do you mean dark? You
But
cannot.
how the fuck can you
Yeah.
even realize that you're in the darkness. Then you're alive, motherfucker. You're still alive then, but you're in darkness. So stupid. Atheists are stupid. I used to be one of them.
The most successful religion on earth. It's the most successful in regards to opposing evil. It's the most successful in regards to opposing its differing viewpoints. It's the most successful in regards to having people act within the limits and the confines of what it finds to be moral and good to God. It's the most adhered to. It's the most feared. It's the most respected in most forms. And then also I'd like to think...
I would say it's the most feared.
Yeah, it's the most feared. But what is respect without fear? Do we respect men we don't fear? If there's a man who could do absolutely nothing to you on any level at all...
I could say you could still respect somebody even if you're not fearing them. Like take somebody
no.
like David Icke. I don't fear David
no.
Icke, but I can still respect him, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but don't you also fear the consequences of what that person could, how would I say? Okay, let's take me. You respect me, right?
I have to think about that. I'm kidding, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
You don't fear me like, oh, she could fuck me up.
Ah, okay.
But you do fear me in a way, not in a physical way, but you do fear me in a way that you might not fear another girl or another woman.
Yeah.
You know, you're not afraid I'm going to beat you up.
Yeah.
But, you know, sometimes you're going to tell me something and you start with, don't get mad now.
Yeah.
Why do you say that? You don't want, not because you understand what I mean?
Yeah. But I wonder what that is. It's because there's a bond between us, or there is something that I don't want to break, I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of words today are not interpreted right or understood, or they are over analyzed. Fear doesn't need to mean that you know, fear something so you're gonna crawl under and hide, or you're afraid that someone's gonna beat you up.
Yeah, you're talking about a different kind of fear.
Yeah, fear can, you know, you can be afraid of a person for other reasons than just, you know.
We talked about this regarding words. How really words are like tools for your mind.
And also language is becoming so
simplistic.
Yeah. It's becoming more simple. You know, people don't use as much words or describing words as they used to. Words are
unless you're Andrew Tate.
Yeah, no.
He's like perspicacious.
Yeah.
Perspicacious. Whatever the fuck he says. Perspicacious. Yeah, I agree. Yes. Yeah. Because everything's becoming lazy, you know?
Simple and lazy.
Yeah.
You might be nice to him, sure, because we're not bad people. But would you really respect him? If you could take his chick in front of his face, set his car on fire, and he wouldn't do a thing. You wouldn't respect him. You might be nice to him because we're not bullies. But you wouldn't respect him. Respect and fear are linked. They're not always the same thing, and you can maybe have fear without respect, but it's very hard to have respect without fear. But also, I heard someone say once that we see the world as we see ourselves. If you're a thief, you think everyone's a thief. If you're a liar, you think everyone's a liar. And I kind of agree with that. I understood that. I also like to think we see religion as we see ourselves. I like to see myself as a person whose respect you have to earn. I like to see myself as a person who has strong, rigid boundaries. I like to see myself as a person who will stand up and say, no, that's wrong. I like to see myself as a person who's not afraid of being shamed by whatever community for saying, I don't agree with that particular ideal. I like seeing myself that way. So if I'm going to see myself that way, then I'm going to naturally align with a religion that operates within that form. So when I say Islam is the last religion on earth, I say it because it seems to be the only one who will stand up and say, no, we don't care. No, that's not what the book says. No.
And I respect it for that. You know what I mean?
I was raised Christian, and Muslims as a whole, we have no problems with Christians. None at all. I don't want anyone to think I'm anti-Christian, like I dislike Christians. We don't have a problem with Christians. We believe in a lot of the same things. We believe in Jesus. We put more respect on the name of Jesus than most Christians do. I just don't like the idea of people saying they're a Christian and saying, but because I'm a Christian, I can do whatever I want and throw all the rules away and none of it matters. Because once you have that...
Would you say that Islam is more of a, this might come out wrong, but more of a man's religion? Like man-dominated religion? And Christianity is a little bit more feminine because it allows everything.
Maybe, absolutely, you could be right there. But also, I see the Islamic women a lot stronger than the Western women.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying.
Tougher.
I'm just saying that the religion seems to be led by the men.
It is.
You know, like, because they're not letting bad shit in, you know, to infiltrate it. While Christianity is like, welcome, yeah, you want to make this church into a pride festival? Yeah, we got between 7 and 9 where you can use it that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That level of tolerance, you no longer have a religion. Islam seems to be the last religion left with parameters. If you don't have parameters, you don't have a religion at all. So the closer I found myself to God, the closer I found myself to Islam. That's just how it ended.
And Andrew, speaking of fear, one could argue that Islam these days, certainly in the last 20 years with the war on terror, they've also been the most vilified.
Absolutely.
Right? So, you know, everything that we've seen happen with extremism and everything that's going on all over the world, how are you grappling with that? You've been a Christian for years now, Islam, everything.
And you know what? That's such an interesting question, because when I was younger, especially when I was an atheist, I would sit and think, people are really doing terror attacks and doing all this crazy stuff because, you know, they're upset over a cartoon. That's so stupid. And nobody should kill anybody. Nobody should kill anybody.
Charlie Hebdo, everything.
Nobody should kill anybody. Nobody should kill anybody. I'll make that very clear. But also part of me is now saying, why would you want to insult the prophet for billions of people? Why would you want to do that? I'm not saying I don't want to make the argument again.
And I would say the atheist or whatever it is that is doing that to Islam, they must be worried that if they don't somehow attack the religion, it will eventually grow and take over atheism. There must be some kind of a worry there. Otherwise, why would they care to attack, for example, Islam there? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're worried.
One thing you couldn't be allowed to. This is a sensitive subject. I'm just saying, what kind of person wakes up and thinks, I want to do that? I don't know. I just don't think that's a healthy mindset. Like when I see these Satanists, and they're, especially in America, and they're doing, let's keep it on Christianity, these Satanists, and they're dressing up Jesus as gay and all this stuff, like, that's not done in any kind of good faith. There's no good reason to do that. That's done with genuinely malicious intention. And what kind of people want to do that? And then the answer by extension is, I thought America was a Christian country. So how can you have a Christian country where the prophets of the religion are mocked to the highest possible levels within the confines of the country and it's promoted? Is that a Christian country? Doesn't seem like a Christian country to me. I don't think the same thing would happen with Islam in Saudi Arabia. I can't imagine that happening. So how can you say we're a Christian country, but everyone's mocking our God on the streets? Ha ha ha. It's on Netflix. Ha ha ha. That's not a Christian country to me. So if you're not a Christian country, then where's the religion? The religion's supposed to enforce certain boundaries. You're supposed to at least show it respect, you know? And it's also kind of interesting because in Christian countries, there's more respect for Islam than there is for Christianity.
Which is insane, but it's true. But it's true. Absolutely true.
Don't do it with the Islamic prophet.
Why do you think that is?
It's too much smoke. It's just not worth the heat. Because people believe. And I'm not advocating for violence on any level. I'm saying that even these degenerates who are trying to destroy people's belief in God, like we've discussed earlier, because they don't want you to have any baseline morality. If you believe in God, there are commandments, yes and no. That baseline morality prevents you being an absolute slave, so they're trying to destroy it. But even those degenerates who are trying to mock and disgrace God, understand there's a point where it just backfires and, ooh, this is smoke. And they don't want the smoke. And shouldn't God be feared? I'm scared of God. It's the only thing I fear. I fear God. They can put me in jail. I know I'm telling the truth. God's on my side. I fear God.
Right? Because that's the most powerful being there ever can be.
Yeah.
You know? God. Yeah, we're gonna stop it for this part there. But yeah, you know, you're gonna fear the most powerful entity, energy, or whatever it is. There is no other thing to fear, really, you know, except that thing. But yeah, love Andrew, man, and PBD too. But we're gonna do the next part later on. Peace out, everybody.
Peace out.